Basketball scientist, this video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51, Man of Steel. In the second half, the Lakers insisted on using 3 centers to fight against O'Neal. The first player to play was still Diop, who was full of brute force. O'Neal was in full strength, and someone had to fight him first. The Heat still used O'Neal's attack in the low post as the starting point of the strategy. The Lakers did not double team and strictly guarded the outside line. Diop held on for 5 minutes and consumed O'Neal to the extent that he could. If he couldn't stand it, he would foul and send the Sharks to the free throw line. On the offensive end, the Lakers took advantage of O'Neal's disadvantage in defending against pick and rolls and constantly found mismatches through pick and rolls and played singles. On the Heat side, Eddie Jones and Damon Jones were not good at defense. The best outside defender was Wade. As long as he was involved, the Lakers' attack on the outside could still cause trouble for the Heat. Diop held on for 5 minutes, but the score difference was not narrowed by the Heat. The Lakers replaced Mim as planned, deployed in echelons, and blocked in stages. At this time, O'Neal's physical strength had already become a problem. It was becoming increasingly difficult to get the ball in the low post. Even after pushing Mim away, he did not choose to dunk directly, but tried to rub the board under the basket. Unexpectedly, he did not score under the interference of Mim's long arms. Looking back, on the defensive end, O'Neal's pick and roll switch was unfavorable, and Kobe shot directly from outside the 3-point line and hit the 3-pointer, again widening the score difference to 10 points. Kobe scored this goal, and Kenyan on the sidelines also excitedly punched to celebrate. The team has been preparing for the Christmas game for a long time. If they really win this opponent, it will undoubtedly be the most valuable victory since the start of the season. The Heat attacked and passed the ball several times, and it came to Wade's hands. Kobe quickly approached, and Wade suddenly moved when Kobe approached. Along the right side, Wade rushed over diagonally. Kobe shouted, forced his feet apart, and his body stopped immediately, trying to block with both hands. But Wade's agility exceeded Kobe's imagination. He cleverly broke through the defense and dodged Kobe. Wade did not accelerate, but after attracting the double team of the Lakers inside line, he turned his body, faced the outside line and suddenly passed the ball to the basket. O'Neal received the ball steadily at the basket, turned around and hooked the ball into the basket. Pick and roll, pass, block again, suddenly break through, pass again, catch the ball, and shoot. Listening to the wonderful sound of basketball and friction, Atkins curled his lips and ran to the backcourt. The Heat relieved O'Neal's burden through Wade's personal breakthrough, while the Lakers maximized the team's strength. You know, because this is a Christmas game broadcast live across the United States, the Lakers have some concerns and reduced the frequency of hacking the Shark. If they deal with O'Neal, like they did with Howard half a month ago, I'm afraid the lead will be even greater now. The game was going on. Under the leadership of the Turcos, the Heat continued to launch a strong offensive against the Lakers. After each loss, the Lakers could always hit the answer ball again and again, and the wonderful goals were presented to the audience again and again. This game is so exciting. This is the first time I have seen such a wonderful game. It is really great. A spectator could not control himself and shouted to the spectators next to him. No one showed any anger or contempt for the spectators' disrespect, because such words were what everyone who saw the game wanted to say. Mim was forced to leave the court with 5 fouls, but it was worth it. The result of the 5 fouls was that O'Neal's 5 extremely threatening attacks were transformed into 10 free throws. Diop, who was off the court, also had 4 fouls. The 3 centers of the Lakers really built a wall with flesh and blood, which was knocked down by O'Neal again and again, but it also exhausted O'Neal, the prehistoric monster. Kobe lowered his center of gravity, spread his feet apart, and took 2 steady steps forward. Then he turned around. His left foot left the ground first, and then his right foot slowly said goodbye to the ground. His body fell backward strongly, but his hands holding the basketball were still so steady. He pulled his hands back, straightened his back terribly, and Kobe once again performed a hovering performance in the air. Wade fell unwillingly, and in front of him, the basketball passed over his head, slipped through his stretched fingertips, and flew to the basket. Swish. Kobe sat on the ground and raised his clenched fist. "Damn it." Wade shouted helplessly and depressed. This was the nth time Kobe had scored in front of him like this. Facing such a large backward shooting method with such a high hit rate, Wade was also very frustrated. He looked at the scoreboard again out of habit. 80:67. The score difference has reached 13 points, and this is when he and O'Neal played the entire third quarter. Is this Lakers team really that scary? In the last attack of the fourth quarter, Wade received the ball in the backcourt, rushed to the front court, and shot from outside the three-point line. When he landed, he almost stepped on the free throw line. This kind of shot under rapid advancement is like shooting birds with random guns for athletes. The force and angle are completely uncontrollable. The ball hit the backboard heavily and bounced off. The Lakers entered the fourth quarter with a 13-point lead, which was already a huge advantage. On the Heat side, the Big Shark had entered a very difficult situation. Stan Van Gundy had no choice but to let O'Neal rest for a while at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Wade was responsible for leading the team at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Another player who went off the court to rest was veteran Eddie Jones. The Lakers replaced Odom and Atkins. Killian did not let veteran Grant play, but boldly used Brian Cook, who could shoot three-pointers. Kobe and Butler both have strong one-on-one singles ability and strong ability to attack the inside. Brian Cook pulled Hadelm out, and the two of them attacked the basket without O'Neal. The effect on the offensive end can be foreseen. On the defensive end, Anderson and O'Neal staggered their playing time, which can also better play his ability to assist and fill positions. Killian was eclectic in on-the-spot scheduling, fully tapping the characteristics of the Lakers role players and playing their advantages. The Lakers, whose lineup was slightly inferior, suppressed the Heat. The team continued to expand its lead in the fourth quarter. Stan Van Gundy was forced to replace O'Neal in advance after 2 minutes. If the situation was not controlled, O'Neal would not have to play at all. The ball was passed several times on the outside and hung into the inside. O'Neal caught the ball in a position, and with a side shot, his body immediately exerted force. Anderson, who was defending him, suddenly felt a huge force coming, which he could not resist anyway. Anderson was heavily resisted, and O'Neal felt empty behind him, and turned around and dunked. Pa. This was the sound of hands hitting arms. O'Neal was about to dunk when Kobe Bryant pulled one of his hands down, and another attack was ruined. There was booing at the scene. But who cares? Kobe and O'Neal looked at each other, and then passed by each other. Chapter 50. To the God of Wealth is always by your side. Bang. O'Neal missed the first free throw. During the free throws, the Lakers made timely substitutions. Diop and Atkins replaced Anderson and Terry Brown. Sure, O'Neal made one of 2 free throws, and the score difference reached 15 points. The Heat was still at an absolute disadvantage. What was more frustrating than the big score deficit was that the team could not do anything to the Lakers on the defensive end. The Heat only arranged tactics around 2 stars, and the role players were average. Damon Jones and Eddie Jones played more as shooters who opened up space in the team. The former had mediocre ability in addition to opening up space, and the latter was old and his athletic ability deteriorated, so it was difficult for him to serve as the third firepower point. When the Lakers continued to respond on the offensive end, the 2 superstars of the Heat consumed a lot. On the other hand, the Lakers had 3 points on the offensive end to handle the ball, and even Atkins made his own contribution on the offensive end. Diop screened Kobe, but O'Neal failed to defend, and watched Kobe shoot easily from mid-range. This was not a problem of O'Neal's habitual attitude of not being able to defend the pick and roll, but a clear physical problem. After all, he is almost 33 years old. Brian Cook stood on the outside, Hadelm was nailed down, and the Lakers only needed to play pick and roll. If O'Neal came out, Kobe could break through him, and if he didn't come out, Kobe could shoot him and make him foul. Wade quickly brought the ball across half court, and it was Kobe who was defending him. Inspired by the score, Kobe had endless energy all over his body, and Wade's continuous changes of direction were all blocked by him. However, during the high-speed dribbling, Wade's peripheral vision saw the position of his opponent clearly, and with a back turn, the ball quickly flew to the right wing at a 45-degree angle. Damon Jones quickly caught the ball and jumped, but before he could shoot the ball, he was slapped out of the air. Damon Jones handled the ball very badly. When Wade passed the ball, he did not take the initiative to catch it, but waited for the ball to fly to his side. In this way, Butler, who was several steps away from him, had enough time to make up for the defense, and Butler's bounce exceeded Damon Jones's expectations, and he destroyed the ball. The Heat never had a third player who could stand up. The Lakers had always been leading in the score. There were still 3 minutes left. The Lakers still led by 16 points with 98:82, and the game entered garbage time. Van Gundy replaced all the main players in advance and surrendered. After one round, the Lakers also sent out all the substitutes. When Kobe left the court, he high-fived all his teammates, including the members of the coaching staff. "Thank you, Kimmy." When it was Kenyan's turn, Kobe expressed his gratitude specially. This game was too important for him. "This is my job." Kenyan looked at Kobe with relief. Kobe himself played a great role in the victory of this game. Not only did he put in enough energy on the defensive end to limit Wade, he also contributed high-quality singles on the offensive end. Moreover, when the team needed Kobe to punish O'Neal with a pick and roll, Kobe obediently played a pick and roll with his teammates, which was almost unseen in the first 28 games of the season. Kenyan believes that, by helping Kobe win this game, Kobe should be a little more obedient in the next season. In the last 3 minutes of the game, the substitutes on both sides were not interested in defense and brushed some data respectively. The final score was fixed at 107:93. The Lakers defeated the Miami Heat, the first-ranked team in the Eastern Conference, away in the Christmas game, which was a big upset. Kobe was in charge of the offensive organization in this game, scoring 33 points, 4 rebounds and 7 assists. He was excellent on the offensive end, and also limited Wade of the Heat on the defensive end. Wade made 9 of 23 shots and 7 of 8 free throws in the whole game, scoring 25 points. O'Neal was a killer on the offensive end, shooting 15 of 22, but he only hit 8 of 22 free throws, which is 18 of 33 in true shooting percentage. The team's logistics department also prepared a Christmas dinner of turkey, salmon, and pudding for the players and coaching staff. Boss Jerry Buss even prepared Christmas gifts for everyone. Kenyan opened the gift and found an Omega watch inside, which was very delicate in appearance. Kenyan didn't have a watch, so he played with it in his hand. The Lakers have always been the best in the league in terms of welfare benefits, and Jerry Buss never skimps on small favors. The Lakers have established such an image, and many players and staff in the league are flocking to the Lakers. After cleaning up, Tom Janovich took Kobe to the press conference, and Kenyan refused to attend as a hero. Today, the focus of this occasion is destined to be Kobe, and there is no need for others to get involved. Besides, it should be Kenyan's credit, and no one can take it away. After the interview, it was already 7 o'clock in the evening. The Lakers took a plane back to Los Angeles as soon as possible. It takes 7 hours to get back to Los Angeles from Miami, and it was already late at night when everyone returned to Los Angeles. Wang Lifen was not there, and Kenyan was alone in Los Angeles. He returned home with mixed feelings, but the living room was brightly lit and in a mess. Food, drinks, toys, and Christmas trees were scattered all over the floor, which made Kenyan think he had walked into the wrong house. Public security in the United States has always been a problem. Theft and burglary happen from time to time. Kenyan lives alone, and as a coach, he flies around with the team every day, which makes it easy for people to step on him and steal from him. This is also the reason why Kenyan chose to share a house with others in Houston and Phoenix before. At least there is someone to take care of him. Kenyan walked into the living room with high alert. He kicked someone inadvertently, and Kenyan subconsciously clenched his fist in a defensive posture and saw a drunk cat lying on the ground. Not knowing the other party's identity, Kenyan took a glass of cold water from the bathroom and blew it directly on the other party's face. The cold water stimulated the skin, and the cool feeling directly woke the other party from his drunken state. What fucksking? Before Kenyan could say anything, drunk cat started the fight first. Before he could finish swearing, Kenyan had already pushed him to the ground, with his arm pinned to the ground. "Who are you? Why did you come to my house?" Kenyan spoke in a bad tone. pushing his arm down with a look that said, "I'll kill you if you don't explain clearly." "Ah. It hurts. I'm Steve's friend, Steve Chen." The other party blurted out Chen Shijin's name, and Kellyanne then used appropriate force to stop the pain. "I'm Steve's friend. We've been working together on YouTube, and today is Christmas, and we came to his house to celebrate. Chen Shijin's project has not been successful yet, and it hasn't been launched yet." The other party reported the name of the cooperative project. "It should be just a misunderstanding." Kellyanne stopped and helped the other party up. "Sorry, I mistook you for a thief." While Zumeo rubbed his right shoulder that was just pressed down and felt that his bones were not his own. "Even if I were a thief, I would not dare to steal things from you. You are such a good fighter." "I'm a sneak attack with deliberate intentions." Kellyanne will not be fooled by such flattery. He just took the initiative, and Zumeo is also a programmer, so he can kill so easily. If it were anyone who has received professional training, Kellyanne would probably fail. "Wait a minute." Kellyanne suddenly caught a key message in Zumeo's words just now. "What is the name of your project?" YouTube video website. Chapter 53, Western Conference Finals Replay. When luck comes, it is really unstoppable. In his previous life, Kellyanne was just a well-known coach in the sports circle, earning a six-figure salary a year, and most of his energy was spent on basketball. He never thought that time travel would happen to him. He knew nothing about the financial industry, and his knowledge of the big guys' fortunes was limited to the jokes in street literature. In addition to knowing that Bitcoin will appreciate hundreds of times in the future, and that China's housing prices will never stop rising, if you ask him what investment plans he really has almost nothing. It has been more than 2 years since he traveled through time, and apart from buying a bunch of Apple stocks that will take several years to appreciate, he has no other property. Privately, he would also tease himself that he is the poorest time traveler, with too few ways to make money and only knowing how to draw pictures on the tactical board. Unexpectedly, God really favored him, the son of the plane, and made the developer of YouTube his landlord. Even Kellyanne, who doesn't pay much attention to the development history of popular products in the IT industry, knows about YouTube. In the past, some professional teaching videos and some rare game videos could only be viewed on YouTube by climbing over the firewall. Kellyanne was also a frequent visitor to this website. "I heard that this product increased in value several times when it was sold to Google." If Kellyanne could get involved in the restricted area before the product was launched, his wealth would increase several times, right? At least financial freedom is definitely not a problem. "Kumi, Kellyanne." Kellyanne introduced himself. "Okay, I heard Steve mention you. Sending barrage during video playback is a genius idea. We have done deductions and the effect will be very good." When the drunk cat heard Kellyanne's name, he immediately thanked him excitedly and finally remembered to introduce himself. "Chad Hurley, I also look forward to some of my expectations for video websites being realized in your code. Come on." Kellyanne reminded the other party of his contribution to YouTube and hinted that he still has many new ideas. Unfortunately, Chad Hurley did not react at all, but just smiled. "If you have any difficulties or need any help, you can come to me. I'm willing to help." Steve Kellyanne further proposed the idea of contributing money and effort and wanted to participate in this project. "This is much more profitable than buying Apple stocks without thinking." Chad Hurley twisted his arm and nodded slightly to accept Kellyanne's goodwill. "After our product is launched, you will definitely experience it first before officially releasing it." "My pleasure." The movement of the two people in the living room startled Chen Shijin in the room. Seeing that Kellyanne and Chad Hurley had shaken hands and made peace, he immediately explained to Kellyanne why he brought his partner to the apartment to celebrate Christmas Eve. In short, the two of them had no money to do research and development. After chatting for a few more sentences, Chad Hurley began to yawn again. Kellyanne himself, although he was still excited mentally, he was really unavoidable to be physically exhausted after traveling. After the three of them said goodnight to each other, they went back to their rooms to rest. Making money also depends on fate. Kellyanne comforted himself, closed his eyes, and fell asleep. On December 27th, the Lakers played at home against the Kings, who were in decline. The internal strife of the Kings this season has become more and more serious. Stojakovic, who supported the team when Webber was injured last season, is no longer satisfied with being Webber's younger brother. He wants to compete with Webber for the position of the team leader. In the news that was exposed not long ago, Stojakovic has even applied for a trade with the team and asked to leave the team. Stojakovic is not even the only one who wants to be the boss of the Kings. The team's main point guard Mike Bibby is also eager to take the position. With internal and external troubles, the Kings have not performed well this season. With a record of 16 wins and 14 losses, they are only ranked 8th in the West. This result is difficult to accept for the Kings, who have been stable in the top 4 in the West for the past 4 years. In the last game against the Kings, Killian ordered Butler to strictly guard Stojakovic's outside shooting. As a result, this single-threaded guy simply focused all his attention on PJ's three-pointer, allowing him to break through and watching PJ make 9 free throws. In the locker room before the game, Killian took out PJ's statistics and threw them to Barrett, reminding him not to make the same stupid mistakes as in the last game. There were not many changes in the starting lineups of both teams. On the Lakers side, Anderson returned to the starting lineup, and on the Kings side, Mobley, who was traded for Christie, also started the game. The starting lineup of the Kings: Bibby, Mobley, Stojakovic, Webber, Brad Miller. Anderson won the jump ball and passed the ball to Odom, and the game began. Odom dribbled the ball outside the three-point line in the middle and faced Webber. Kobe stood on the left baseline for a while and ran back to the top line. At the same time, Anderson on the right side made an off-ball screen for Atkins to help him get rid of Bibby. Odom passed the ball to Kobe, who singled out Mobley on the wing. After a tentative step, he pulled up from mid-range, but was slightly disturbed and missed the basket. The rebound was grabbed by Webber. The Kings were on offense. Webber went to the top line to play pick and roll with Bibby. Odom switched to defend Bibby and was pulled to the right by Bibby. Bibby passed the ball to the middle. Kobe switched to defend Webber and interfered closely. Webber leaned back and turned to make a layup but missed. Anderson grabbed the backcourt rebound and passed it to Odom. The latter launched another blitzkrieg. The Kings returned to defense in time and did not give the Lakers a chance to switch offense and defense. Butler received the ball on the right side, looked at Webber in the middle, dribbled the ball from his left hand to his right hand, and suddenly changed direction from 45 degrees to the baseline. He was very fast and his movements were perfectly connected. He passed PJ and easily scored a layup. The Kings were on offense. Webber went to the free throw line to assist and played a pass cut with Bibby. Bibby cut into the inside and used his advantage to push Atkins away. He forced a layup against Anderson, not only putting the ball into the basket, but also causing Anderson to foul. Bibby's missiles are not in vain. In terms of independent offensive ability, he is indeed better than PJ, which is also his capital for competing for the team leader. The Lakers attack. Atkins passes to Kobe in the low post and runs to the right corner. Butler is at 70 degrees, forming a triangle. Pick and roll, inside support, triangle offense. Killian never lacks offensive routines. Kobe leans on Mobley and turns to the baseline. Mobley blocks the breakthrough route. Kobe does not use his physical advantage to force it, but steps back with his right foot to jump shot. With a simple move, he avoids the block and the ball goes in. 4:3. The Kings attack. Webber guards the ball in the middle and waits for his teammates to run. PJ looks for a screen on the right to receive the ball. Brad Miller interferes with Butler's pursuit. PJ opens Anderson, rushes in 2 steps, attracts double teaming and passes to Brad Miller, who hits a three-pointer from the outside. 4:6. Brad Miller's support ability is slightly inferior to Divac, but a three-pointer can indeed bring more changes to the Kings' offense. The Lakers continued to play the triangle offense. Kobe leaned on Mobley and took 3 slow steps to the basket. Webber retreated to defend and formed a double team under the basket. Kobe passed the ball to the outside line. Odom received the ball in an open position on the left side. He glanced at the basket and made a fake move to prepare for a shot. In fact, he rushed to the basket. He heard the referee's whistle after 2 steps. Traveling. Odom's occasional low-level mistakes, Tomjanovich and Killian have become quite immune to it and are no longer surprised. Chapter 54, turning the unfavorable situation around. Both teams were attacking lineups and their players had the attribute of focusing on offense and neglecting defense, and the rhythm of the game was very smooth. Butler ran to the right, suddenly made a counter run and shook Stojakovic's defense, received the ball and pushed Stojakovic, knocked away the opponent, and scored a layup in 3 steps to tie the score. The Kings attacked. Bibby brought it to the front court to play pick and roll with Brad Miller, broke into the basket to attract double teaming, and then passed the ball to Weber, who took the ball and leaned against Odom with his back and then turned to the left. The gorgeous footwork caught Odom off guard and then licked the basket and failed to put the ball into the basket. This scene has appeared many times in the Kings games this season. On the surface, it seems to be a problem of touch and bad luck, but in fact it is also a kind of inability of Weber to complete this series of actions. In addition to excellent hand skills, it also requires excellent physical fitness to support, especially the core muscles of the ankles and waist and abdomen strength. Weber has been injured in his ankles and knees in the past 2 seasons, so it is inevitable that he will be cautious when doing actions. On the sidelines, Adelman shouted loudly to the court, expressing his dissatisfaction with Bibby's offensive method. He believed that he held the ball for too long and did not play according to his own tactics. Bibby was scolded by the head coach on the sidelines, and his face was not very good. This time the attack did not work, and it was obviously not his fault. This is also a common problem of many academic coaches. They do not pay much attention to teaching students in accordance with their aptitude, and only know how to stubbornly let players embed into their own system. The contradictions within the Kings now seem to have a certain relationship with Adelman's poor control of the locker room. When the Lakers attacked, Kobe once again tied down the Kings' defensive focus. Butler and Anderson played pick and roll, dribbled the ball horizontally to get rid of it, and PJ did not make up for the defense, so Miller made up for it. Miller was also slow to move forward, and Butler took a step into the 3-point line and made a quick stop jump shot. There was no one in front of him to interfere, and he hit it accurately. The team's offense has gradually been run in and formed through the past 28 games, except for the lack of singles ability of the inside players, which really restricts the team. The implementation and switching of other offensive tactics are very free. Especially recently, the team seems to have found a delicate balance between team offense and Kobe's individual singles, which is very important for the team's next season. However, on the defensive end, the Lakers still have many problems. Weber's fake shot at the free throw line deceived Odom again, and then broke into the basket and dunked with one hand. The inside combination of Odom and Anderson is still very strenuous on the defensive end against the all-star level inside. In the past against the Kings, Christie's defense always gave Kobe some headaches. But today, the defender changed from Christie to Mobley. Kobe had a sense of release from prison. He received the ball in the low post, leaned on Mobley with his back, and easily opened up the shooting space with 2 back-to-back attacks, and turned and jumped. On the Kings offense, Bibby and Weber played high post passes and cuts, got rid of Atkins, and then changed direction, and accelerated past Anderson, and scored a layup on the right. 10-10. In the middle of the first quarter, Adelman replaced Mobley, who had been suppressed by Kobe, with Bobby Jackson. Tomjanovich replaced Butler with Barnes for the consideration of the offensive firepower of the substitute Linoop in the transition period. The two sides still couldn't defend each other, and the score in the first quarter was 33-36. A broken ship still has 3,000 nails. Even if the Kings have some internal hidden dangers, the strength is there. Compared with the Lakers, whose Linoop has undergone a huge change, the core players of the Kings are still in the team, and the combat effectiveness is very stable. Chris Webber and Mike Bibby are shining stars, and they have scored 23 points together. They are the biggest contributors to the Kings' lead in the first quarter. On the contrary, Stojakovic was isolated intentionally or unintentionally in the game, and only got 2 shots in the first quarter. This point was also noticed by Kellyan. PJ was isolated on the offensive end, which means that Butler's pressure on the defensive end is reduced, and he can devote more energy to this on the offensive end. Have you noticed anything different about the Kings? Kellyan gave Butler some advice during the intermission. Their offense is very smooth, and Webber's support at the free throw line has brought some changes to the Kings. We need to. Butler was interrupted by Kellyan halfway through his words. Have you noticed that PJ has little presence in the game? Peja has entered the attacking state several times, but Weber and Bibby did not give him the ball, but gave it to others instead. Kellyanne pointed out the hidden dangers brought by the internal strife of the Kings. If this situation still exists in the Kings, Karen, you can put more energy on the offensive end. The premise is that you must first make sure to entangle Peja on the defensive end. Once he hits a 3-pointer, we will be in a more passive position. The Lakers replaced Butler halfway through the first quarter, just to make it easier for him to lead the substitute Linoop to attack in the transition period. The overall strength of the Lakers substitute Linoop is relatively weak, especially lacking scoring points, which is also a helpless solution. The main offensive point of the Kings substitute Linoop is Bobby Jackson, who is also a microwave scorer who is good at scoring as soon as he comes on. Terry Brown was basically abandoned by the team, and Vujasic was assigned the task of playing as a backup point guard. Butler, Barnes, Brian Grant, and Brian Cook were arranged to play. If the opponent double teams the Lakers' weakness of not having a backup point guard, Odom will be brought in advance to ensure the normal advancement of the backcourt. The disadvantage of this Linoop is defense. Even if Vujasic sinks to the number 1 position, his defense is still a sieve, and Cook, as Kellyanne's preferred space-type inside player, cannot be reused because he can't meet the NBA standard in any other way except shooting. But the reason why Kellyanne did not replace Mim or Diop, but chose to let Brian Cook play, is also to be sure that the Kings' backup inside players are average. Kings' backup center Ostertag was once a qualified blue-collar player. He averaged 4.5 points and 5.5 rebounds per game in his career. His offensive ability is average. He can be a meat shield on the defensive end to protect rebounds, but his other functions are not great. Even when facing Cook, his scoring ability is not dominant. On the other hand, when Cook stands outside on the offensive end, Ostertag is completely in trouble. Only Kings power forward Darius Sangela can defend Cook for him. In this case, the threat of Butler and Grant's pick and roll is greatly increased. After the pick and roll is completed, Ostertag will face the problem of defending a small player. If he switches defense, Butler is proficient in offensive means and has a good grasp of forcing the basket or mid-range emergency stops. If the Kings double team, Grant's pass can also create a threat. Kellyanne likes space-type inside players and does not like pure blue-collar meat shields. This is determined by his tactical thinking. But Kellyanne is powerful because he can use his own tactics to magnify the advantages of space-type inside players against pure blue-collar meat shields. Just like this period of time, fans can clearly see that Cook is effective on the court, while Ostertag is targeted very hard and is at a loss on the court. Kellyanne's appropriate tactical arrangement makes Butler play very happily. His data has improved significantly this season. He can average 16.5 points and 6.7 rebounds per game, and all data have set a new career high. 3 minutes later, the Lakers overtook by 5 points. Butler led the team to a 10-2 run. Adelman had no choice but to make adjustments and replaced Ostertag with Brad Miller. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55, Using Hardness to Overcome Softness. The main lineups of both teams returned one after another, and the Lakers continued to have the upper hand in the game. Especially in physical confrontation, the Lakers had a clear advantage. Kobe broke through to attract the defense and passed the ball to Odom, who relied on Weber to force a layup. Odom is a headache when he is in trouble, but he is very versatile when he is normal. The key is that his all-round attributes are a clear complement to the Lakers, whose lineup is very uncoordinated. It can even be said that without Odom, many problems of the Lakers will be exposed. In the next round of offense, Atkins relied on Odom's screen to get rid of Mike Bibby and made a 3-pointer. Counting the 10 to scored by the substitute players before, the Lakers achieved a wave of 15 2 in one breath, surpassing the Kings by 10 points. 48:38. Adelman immediately requested a timeout without any hesitation. He did not adjust the lineup, but just severely reprimanded the players on the sidelines and then rearranged the tactics. Back on the court, the Kings' offense changed immediately. Mobley completed an off-ball pick and roll with Brad Miller at the baseline and cut into the restricted area. He received a pass from Webber, who was on the free throw line. He scored the ball under Anderson's defense and caused Anderson to foul. Sometimes Anderson's defense is too aggressive, and there will be too many fouls. Some balls should be given up. Mobley made the free throw. Atkins dribbled the ball across half court, and Bibby defended him alone. Anderson screened Kobe on the left side. The latter ran to 70 degrees and received the pass from Atkins. Kobe took the opportunity to drive to the middle, attracted Miller, and passed the ball to Odom, who ran from the right to the left corner. Odom faced the collar and changed direction to 45 degrees with the ball. He passed the ball to Anderson, who was deep in the basket. Anderson had an obvious advantage over Mobley under the basket. He didn't even need to turn around. He forced a jump and overpowered Finn Mobley to dunk the ball with one hand. The Lakers responded very aggressively. The Kings could not defend the Lakers at all and were under great pressure. Webber pulled to the three-point line to play pick and roll with Bibby. Odom blocked Bibby and Atkins followed him to defend. Bibby passed the ball to Peja, who faced Butler and could not break through in one step, so he passed it again. Mobley passed the ball to Webber on the right side at 45 degrees for a single play. The players pulled away, and Odom defended hard, pushing Webber away from the basket. Webber leaned against Odom with his back to the ball, turned to the middle, and did not jump up and shoot immediately, but took the ball with both hands to make a fake shot. He often used this trick to shake his opponent, whether it was taking the ball to find physical contact to make a foul, or taking another step forward to throw the ball. It was a good choice. Odom's prediction this time was very accurate. Before Webber raised the ball high, he was cut off by him with a slap. He took the opportunity to poke the ball forward and quickly started to pick up the basketball and fast break. There was a fast break opportunity, and Kobe reacted quickly. He fast broke on the right side and Odom passed it without hesitation. Kobe took a step to the right after receiving the ball. He dribbled the ball behind his back with his right hand and changed direction to the left with his left hand, creating some distance between him and Peja. He paused slightly, held the ball with his left hand, and moved closer with his right hand. Kobe seemed to be about to make a quick stop and jump shot. Peja hurriedly moved sideways and raised his right hand to interfere with the shot. Unexpectedly, Kobe used the street ball worship Buddha fake move, dribbled the ball with his left hand, and changed direction to the right, completely past Peja in one step, pulled the ball, and made a layup in 3 steps, continuing to expand the lead. The offense could not score points, and the defense could not limit the Lakers. Mike Bibby was a little impatient. Against Atkins, Bibby had an obvious advantage in physical confrontation. He pushed away Atkins' defense and made a mid-range jump shot. As a player who was once selected into the Dream Team, Bibby was on the list of the Dream Team in the Athens Olympics, but withdrew on his own. Bibby's personal ability is really strong, especially in the point guard position. His strength advantage is outstanding. It is more beneficial than harmful to the team to give him some single shots appropriately. In the game with the team in the advantage, Kobe started to play recklessly again. He challenged Mobley, dribbled the ball under his crotch and changed direction, and successfully broke through on the right. Webber retreated and double-teamed Kobe with Brad Miller near the penalty area. Kobe failed to pass the ball to the most suitable position, and passed it to Butler in the right corner. Butler took an open three-pointer, but missed. Webber protected the backcourt rebound. The Kings fell into a positional battle again, and passed the ball to Webber. After receiving the ball in the low post, he turned to the middle, leaned against Anderson, jumped up and made a right-handed throw, but missed. After the ball bounced out, Brad Miller grabbed the front court rebound, took a step forward, and scored the ball through Odom. Killian was very unhappy about losing the backcourt rebound, especially when the opponent was a combination of Webber and Brad Miller who were not good at rushing for front court rebounds. It was all because of Odom's disadvantageous positioning. The Lakers attacked. Kobe attracted the defense and passed the ball to Butler for a singles, but the latter faced Peja and made a quick stop jump shot, avoiding the block and missing. Brad Miller grabbed the rebound. The Kings attacked in a positional battle. Webber received the ball in the low post on the right side and shot with his back to the basket. He is a very comprehensive inside attacker, and his low post singles skills are also very good. What is even more outstanding is his passing. After completing the turn, he attracted Kobe to double team and then sent a behind the back pass to Mobley, who attracted Butler to make up for the defense and passed the ball to Peja in the bottom corner. At this time, the Lakers rotation was exhausted and watched the ball go into the net. 50:45. The 12-point difference was reduced to 5 points, and Tom Janovich requested a timeout. Karen, don't forget what I reminded you. You can have more impact on the offensive end, but the premise is that you have to control Peja's 3-pointers. We can't let Peja develop a good touch. After Kellyanne finished speaking, Butler gritted his teeth and nodded. Lama, Chris Webber is the starting point of the Kings offense. He goes to the free throw line to receive the ball. You must entangle him and prevent him from speeding up and cutting in. His ankle now can't support his frequent frontal breakthroughs. Bibby's singles are threatening, but he will definitely not collapse. Kobe, you have to try to attack the basket more in this game. Mobley and Peja can't do anything to you. I think you have the ability to get rid of Brad Miller. Okay, that's all I have to say. Come on everyone, we can win this game. The timeout ended, and the game resumed. There were no personnel changes between the two teams during this timeout. The Lakers were attacking. Kobe received the ball in half court. Facing Mobley's defense, his body suddenly swayed to the right. His left foot had already taken a big step to the right like lightning. His body suddenly became short and slanted to the right. His right hand holding the ball had already moved the basketball to Mobley's left side. Mobley's center of gravity completely shifted to the left. One foot had already stepped sideways. His hand immediately came to the side to intercept Kobe, whose upper body had already rushed to his left side. Kobe's half body, which was short and slanted to the right, suddenly paused as if time had stopped. The ball finally hit the ground. With a pullback from his right hand, the basketball rolled and bounced to his left hand. His left foot had already been retracted. At the moment of landing, his right foot took advantage of the force of his left foot to step to the left. His body, which had returned to the right position, almost followed at the same time and rushed to the left sideways. With a beautiful double change of direction, Mobley was shaken and stepped back a few steps to the left before he could stand firm. He watched Kobe slip past him, rush to the basket, and dunked Brad Miller to score. The Staples Center was immediately filled with thunderous applause, hysterical cheers, and uncontrollable wild expressions on everyone's faces, creating a noisy and crazy arena. Chapter 56. United we are invincible, divided we are each awesome. In the next round of defense, the Lakers players, whose defensive strategy was pointed out by Kellyanne during the timeout, did not panic when defending. After Webber got the ball, he was closely followed by Odom and had no comfortable space to handle the ball. However, at the moment, when Webber turned around to protect the ball, Peja ran back to get rid of Butler, received Webber's God's hand, and easily made a layup. Snap. If Peja scored this goal, then Webber's pass completed by turning around would most likely be selected into the highlights of his career, but Anderson's magic weapon destroyed this artwork and achieved the highlight of his career. Anderson's enthusiasm is sometimes a double-edged sword. Many times he will be fouled by the opponent, but there are also many times when he will deliver exciting blocks. On the sidelines, Kellyanne was also shocked by Webber's beautiful pass. Peja has a good sense of running position, but his physical explosiveness is weak after all. If he is replaced by a player with better physical fitness, it is really possible to create a classic. Kobe and Anderson's wonderful attack and defense boosted the team's morale. The Lakers took advantage of the situation and opened the gap to more than 10 points again. At the end of the first half, the Lakers led the Kings by 12 points with 57:45. During the halftime break, Tom Janovich affirmed the team's performance. The Lakers controlled Webber in the second half of the second quarter, which made the Kings' offense fall into silence and could only rely on Bibby's strong hits to maintain. Bibby can beat Kobe in individual singles. This is unrealistic. The start of the third quarter is a good opportunity for us to completely solve the game. Kellyanne analyzed. Most academic coaches have a characteristic that they have to implement their own plan A and run tactics at the beginning of each half. Wait until plan A is blocked and then make adjustments. Kylian wants to take advantage of Adelman's mentality and solve the Kings at the beginning of the second half. At the beginning of the second half, the Kings played a wonderful attack. After Bibi passed the ball to Weber, Pija immediately prepared to slip to the bottom line and look for an opportunity to go inside. When Pija was about to go out of the bottom line, he pretended to run back to the basket and got rid of Butler, who had been following him. Then he immediately retreated to the right corner. At this time, Weber's ball also came out. It was a long distance oblique pass with several players in the middle. Not to mention the general inside line. Even many point guards could not pass such a ball. The ball speed was very heavy. Yes, it was heavy, not fast. This is a feeling of passing, which makes the teammates who received the ball feel very comfortable. After Pija received the ball, he did not make any adjustments at all. Weber's pass was very comfortable, and Butler was also thrown away by his counter-run. What a beautiful pass. Kylian couldn't help but praise. Odum's ability to assist has been developed by Kylian, but his passing is rarely as free-hand as Weber's, and the quality of the pass is not that high. In this regard, no inside player in the league can compare with Weber. Thinking of this, Kylian couldn't help but secretly blame Kupchak in his heart for not being able to deal with Dio, who hadn't even played yet. Swish. Pija made a three-pointer, looked at Butler provocatively, and then quickly evacuated the Lakers half-court because the Lakers fast break began to advance again. On the Lakers side, the rapid advancement of Kobe, Odom, and Atkins also tore through the Kings' defense. Kobe chased Mobley, causing the opponent to lose his pace when retreating, and was fouled by Kobe. Adelman protested loudly to the referee on the sidelines. Kobe chased my players and couldn't dodge. This TM also called a foul. F******** K off. It can be said that Kobe took advantage of the rules, but rules are rules. Adelman's complaint not only failed to change the referee's penalty, but also received a technical foul for speaking rudely to the referee. Kobe made all 3 free throws for the technical foul, bringing the score difference back to 12 points. The Kings were on offense. Weber faked a free throw to open Odom. He missed the shot due to Kobe's interference. Anderson got the rebound and threw it directly to the front court. Kobe, who was moving at full speed, stepped on the joint and scored a dunk. Bibi dribbled to the right and suddenly accelerated diagonally. After taking a step, he immediately got side by side with Atkins. He dribbled the ball again, landed on one foot and immediately jumped one step inside. As soon as his body landed, he raised the ball and prepared to jump up. Anderson, who was defending, was deceived and jumped up. When he jumped up, he found that he was deceived. Before he landed, Bibi had already jumped up, creating a time difference and easily hit the rebound into the basket. The Lakers were on offense. Atkins dribbled the ball into the inside. Odom received the ball, took a step forward, and passed the ball out. Kobe caught the ball and dribbled under his legs. Mobley was not sure whether Kobe was going to break through or shoot, so he stabilized his center of gravity and defended. The basketball bounced from Kobe's crotch to his left hand. Suddenly, Kobe stood up and shot. Mobley rushed forward and stretched his arm to block the shot, but it was too late. The ball in Kobe's hand said goodbye to his index finger and flew into the basket in an arc. Kobe kept his shooting posture for a second and then returned to defense amid the cheers of the audience. The game continued in a fierce confrontation. The Lakers relied on Kobe's point to crush the Kings' wing. Facing the defense of Mobley and Stojakovic, Kobe made 6 of 8 shots in the first half of the third quarter, leading the Lakers to open up the score difference to 20 points. A team without elite perimeter defenders is at a disadvantage against the Lakers' 2 wing singles players who are in excellent form. Adelman went to extremes in selecting players. He preferred white players with weaker athletic ability and ignored factors such as physical fitness and athletic ability. This also led to the team's weak ability to break through once it fell into a passive situation. Halfway through the third quarter, the score difference reached more than 20 points, and the game was decided. The fourth quarter became a training time. Kobe, who had already scored 37 points in 3 quarters, was arranged to play for 3 minutes in the fourth quarter, raising his score to 41 points, and was willing to be replaced. For the Lakers, occasionally satisfying Kobe's desire for data is also good for management, which is also what Kellyan learned from Tom Janovic. The final score was fixed at 124:109. The Lakers defeated the Kings at home. The team's record came to 20 wins and 10 losses, tying the Dallas Mavericks. Only because of the win-loss relationship, it is temporarily ranked 5th in the West, and there is only one win difference from the Seattle Supersonics, which ranks 3rd in the West. The team will travel to Atlanta to face the Hawks, who are ranked last in the league. If they can win, they can continue to put pressure on the two teams. With excellent personal data and improved team records, Kobe has also been included in the MVP candidate list. The OK combination is invincible when together, and each is awesome when apart. The two players are ranked 2nd and 3rd on the MVP list, second only to Nash. Considering that Nash's personal data is slightly inferior to Kobe and O'Neal, his confidence comes more from the improvement of the Suns' record by his joining. If the selection increases the weight of the player's personal data, Kobe is not completely without a chance. Chapter 57, Fighting the Lakers. 4 players. December 30th, the Lakers visited Atlanta and faced the Hawks. This was the game Kellyan had been looking forward to the most since he joined the Lakers. Before the game, Kobe won the Western Conference Player of the Week award, and he was also a strong contender for the Western Conference Player of the Month in December. In the December game, Duncan, Nowitzki, and Garnett all performed relatively averagely, and the main competition for the Western Conference Player of the Month was between Kobe and Nash. Kobe had the advantage in statistics, and the record was only 2 games behind, so the chances were almost 50-50. As long as they beat the Hawks, who were ranked last in the league, the Lakers could end the 2004 game with a 5-game winning streak, which would also give Kobe a considerable impression. The Lakers were determined to win this game. During the pre-game warm-up training, Kellyan searched the sidelines for Wang Lifen's traces, and it was easy to find him, because Wang Lifen was wearing a jacket with the Lakers logo. The United States is different from European football. There will be no physical threats when away fans appear in the home team's fan area. Americans define a game as a game, rather than a match. Kellyan saw Wang Lifen and his eyes stayed for 5 seconds. She dressed carefully, with her hair naturally tied up, a white sweater under her coat, and a blue denim skirt, which was implicit and sexy. By the standards of Asian women, Wang Lifen's figure is just right, with just the right proportions, curves, and size. Kellyan waved at Wang Lifen from a distance, and then he saw a middle-aged couple next to Wang Lifen, and he was inevitably a little surprised. It seems that they are Wang Lifen's parents. The relationship between the two has not been confirmed yet, but Wang Lifen came directly with his parents. The game itself was unremarkable. The Hawks, who were aiming for the number 1 pick, had no desire to snipe the Lakers. They were suppressed by the Lakers at the beginning, and did not lead for a second. On the contrary, outside the court, not only Wang Lifen and his family of 3 were paying attention to Kellyan. In the VIP box, Hawks owner Anthony Ressler was also discussing Kellyan with the team's general manager Larry Sander. "Larry, have you investigated Kim's detailed information? Are you sure that the Lakers' offensive tactics were arranged by him?" Larry Sander replied, "Of course. Everyone knows what kind of coach Tom Janovic is. The media has filmed the Lakers training and confirmed that Kim is the assistant coach in charge of offensive tactics. And many times, he is also the one who makes the Lakers on-the-spot adjustments. Can he come to the Hawks?" Ressler asked. Larry Sander stopped talking. "How can it be so easy to snatch players from the Lakers? Everyone in the league knows that the Lakers pay the highest salary and the best treatment to the management and coaching staff. In terms of city size, livability, and media exposure, Los Angeles is better than Atlanta. In terms of team strength and prospects, the Lakers have Kobe, Odom, and Butler. At least playing in the playoffs is not a problem. Playing the emotional card, Tom Janovic's Kellyan's guide to join the NBA. What does the Hawks have? Unless. The more he thought about it, the more he felt something was wrong. Larry Sander frowned. "Anthony, you don't want him to be the head coach, do you? The team's plan to lose this year and strive for a better draft pick was originally planned. Terry Stotts is just implementing our plan. Whether it is the team's bad policy or the team's strength is really too weak, Ressler is not blind. and can see it. The team's problem may not be with Stotts, but is Stotts at the level of helping the Hawks out of trouble? It is not clear at the moment. Kellyanne, together with Tom Janovich, perfectly digested the impact of the Lakers roster changes, maintained the team's record, and made the Lakers offense more gorgeous. How much credit he has for this, outsiders do not know. But it is impossible for a Chinese to be so warmly welcomed and sought after in the Lakers locker room without toothbrushes. The Hawks have not made the playoffs for 6 consecutive seasons, not to mention that they have been truly competitive in the league since the Wilkins era. The team's market, revenue, and prospects are not very good. If this continues, they will become the team with the lowest presence in the league. A young Chinese coach may increase some attention in addition to the record. Wrestler has the idea of changing. However, judging from this game alone, Kellyanne's presence on the sidelines is not very strong. The reason is very simple. The Hawks are really not strong. The Lakers can maintain a 15 to 20 point lead without even exerting their strength. Not to mention the poor strength, the Hawks do not have any players with the potential to become superstars. Josh Smith, Dio, Al Harrington, and Childress seem to have some potential, but their respective flaws are obvious. They are not the material to be core players. This also makes the Hawks determined to play badly and strive to get a core player in the 2005 draft. 91:107. The Lakers defeated the Hawks away, ending the turbulent year of 2004 with a 5-game winning streak. The team's record has reached 21 wins and 10 losses, catching up with the Seattle Supersonics who lost today. However, since the Supersonics are the champions of the Northwest Division, they are still ranked ahead of the Lakers. Sitting quietly on the sidelines for the entire game, Kellyanne did not need to go back to the locker room to fix his appearance. As soon as the game was over, he walked towards Wang Lifan. Hi never. Kellyanne approached Wang Lifan and saw the 2 elders beside her stand up, which made him more certain that this was a family of 3. Hello, uncle and aunt, I'm Never's friend. Hello. Wang Ziniao shook hands with Kellyanne and looked at Kellyanne with a strange look. What friend? Dad, Mom, Kami is my boyfriend. Wang Lifan, on his side, was not satisfied with Kellyanne's self-introduction. He walked to Kellyanne's side, took his arm, and introduced him to his parents with smiling eyes. This is your boyfriend? Foreign girls play in a very novel way, of course. Kellyanne is eager to be a boyfriend. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and then he calmed down and introduced himself again. Uncle, aunt, I'm Never's boyfriend. Kellyanne never mentioned you to us and said that you get along very well. Before her husband responded, Wang Lifan's mother Zhao Yun tried to smooth things over. It is said that the more a mother-in-law sees her son-in-law, the more she likes him. This is true for Zhao Yun and Kellyanne. Kellyanne is very handsome, not earth-shattering, but he must be a very eye-catching one in the crowd. Today, he specially dressed up as a basketball practitioner. His height of 191 and good proportions are also a plus. In terms of career, the sports industry and the doctor's family seem to be a little distant, but Kellyanne, as an assistant coach, has entered the world's top basketball league NBA. In time, he is very likely to become the head coach of an NBA team. His strength has basically reached the top 50 level in the industry. In any industry, being able to reach the top 50 is worthy of recognition. Girls like Never are easy to get along with, Kellyanne said with a smile. No, there are very few boys around her. You are the first boy she brought to us. Zhao Yun nodded and said to Kellyanne. Then, she also read some joy from the change in Kellyanne's expression. Men always hope that their girlfriends are pure and innocent. But to be honest, Kellyanne didn't think that Wang Lifan had never been in a relationship before. The time they had been in contact with each other didn't seem like a virgin solo. After chatting for a few sentences, they had a preliminary understanding. Wang Ziniao and Zhao Yun also said goodbye to the two and left the time to Kellyanne and Wang Lifan. After all, it was the first time for their daughter to date a boy. Wang Ziniao and Zhao Yun came to see her, but they didn't want to put any pressure on them. The car is left for you to use. We'll take a taxi back at the end. Wang Ziniao also gave his daughter an assist. When Kellyanne and Wang Lifan went to the parking lot, Zhao Yun couldn't wait to ask her husband, how do you feel? Are they real or fake? Wang Ziniao frowned. Kellyan's conditions are indeed good. It's not surprising. That never has feelings. I hope so. Chapter 58 KO Barefoot welcomes Zuyu. Holding Kellyan's hand, Wang Lifan went to the parking lot to pick up the car. Along the way, he was paying attention to Kellyan's expression. Laugh out loud. If you want to laugh, don't laugh secretly. Wang Lifan let go of his arm and cue Kellyan. I'm afraid that I'll wake up from my dream if I laugh out loud. Kellyan looked straight ahead and spoke sweet words one after another. Then, Wang Lifan pinched the back of his hand. Are you sure it's not a dream now? People won't wake up from deep sleep with a pinch. Kellyan stopped and looked at Wang Lifan with a smile. Wang Lifan couldn't help frowning. So, what do you want? Kellyan raised his chin and pointed to his lips, meaning that he had to kiss him anyway. They have already met the parents, so this request is not too much, right? You're too tall. I can't reach you. Wang Lifan directly rejected Kellyan's reasonable request. Damn. You don't know how to tiptoe. Kellyan complained in his heart. When the two got in the car, someone suddenly called Kellyan from behind. Hello, Kimmy. A middle-aged man in a well-dressed suit walked over from a distance. Hello, who are you? I'm Larry Sander, the general manager of the Atlanta Hawks. Do you have time to chat? Huh. This invitation came out of nowhere, and Kellyan was a little caught off guard. Not only was Kellyan caught off guard, Sander also felt that this meeting was a little early. Normally, Kellyan should have gone to the hotel with the team to rest. If the team wanted to contact Kellyan, they could only call him at most. As luck would have it, Kellyan had an appointment with Wang Lifan today, so he asked for leave in advance and did not participate in activities with the team, which just gave Sander an opportunity. He also felt that it would be more sincere to talk to Kellyan in person, so he simply chased him to the parking lot. Isn't there an illusion in China that KO went barefoot to welcome Zuyu? His sincerity should also add points, right? If Kellyan knew that Sander mistook him for Zuyu, he would definitely not agree. He had to visit the thatched cottage 3 times. Just deal with the work first. Wang Lifan gave Kellyan a look that said, don't take it to heart. Sorry. Kellyan was very sorry that the first date after the relationship was postponed. Fortunately, Wang Lifan seemed generous and didn't mind. Kellyan was still a staff member of the Lakers. It was never a good thing to meet with the management of the Hawks in private. In order to avoid being photographed and causing trouble, the two sides came to Larry Sander's office to negotiate. Kim's girlfriend is from Atlanta. Before the formal negotiation, Sander finally found a potential advantage of the Hawks. Kellyan frowned. Does this have anything to do with what we are going to talk about next? It should be, because we hope to invite you to work in Atlanta. Larry Sander said, we all appreciate the changes you have brought to the Lakers, very sharp offensive tactics, and excellent on-the-spot scheduling. We really need such a coach, so we hope you can join the coaching team of the Hawks and become the team's chief assistant coach to help Stotts manage the team. Assistant coach. Kellyan was a little disappointed, but he also felt it was normal. He was only 25 years old, and most NBA players at this age were still receiving rookie contracts. As a head coach, dispatching a group of players older than himself, no management dared to do this. The only chance is with the Lakers. Take charge of the team as an acting coach and show your ability. Everything is difficult at the beginning. Only after taking the first step can you get opportunities in the future. I'm sorry, I'm currently focusing on the Lakers. Kellyan answered firmly. Don't rush to reject me, Kimmy. If you agree to come to the Hawks, you will be the team's chief assistant coach, and we will give you the opportunity to talk directly with the management. And if Stotts' next work does not satisfy the management, we will give you priority. Larry Sander has a good grasp of Kellyan's psychology. What do you mean by focusing on the Lakers? If he is so determined, he would not agree to this private contact. As a coach who doesn't want to be the head coach of the team, Kellyan, who has no background and no player resume, must take over a bad team if he wants to stand out. It was different from what Sander had imagined. If he really offered the position of head coach of the Hawks to invite him, Kellyan would have to think carefully whether to accept it or not. What was the strategy of the Hawks this season? Playing badly, taking over such a team, and coaching with the purpose of losing. was contrary to Kellyan's basketball philosophy. If he really took over, he would also let the team get involved in the Carter trade to improve the team's combat effectiveness. In Atlanta, Wang Lifan arranged the evening schedule. Kellyan didn't expect Wang Lifan to bring him to a bar for a date. "Won't we know when we go in?" Wang Lifan smiled and walked in, holding Kellyan's hand. After entering the bar, Kellyan discovered the difference. This bar was very old-fashioned, or rather than calling it a bar, it was better to call it a dance hall, the kind from the 1990s, which is hard to see in China nowadays, but I saw it in Atlanta. There are 100,000 Chinese in Atlanta, many of whom immigrated during that era. "Aren't you bringing me here to dance?" Kellyan complained. He can play basketball, but he's really uncoordinated in dancing. "Bingo," Wang Lifan said with a smile. "Swing dance, you'll love it." After you tried, Kellyan's face was a little embarrassed, and Wang Lifan asked, "Are you afraid of dancing?" "I'm afraid of stepping on you, miss. It's similar to ordinary social dancing, and it really helps to sharpen our tacit understanding." Wang Lifan said so, and Kellyan couldn't help but dance. Wang Lifan grabbed Kellyan's hand and hugged his waist. "Then give me your left hand." "Yes, put it on my right hand. Come on, stretch it out." At this moment, the two of them were almost face to face, and they could even feel each other's breathing. Involuntarily, both of them became nervous. "Relax a little, you're so tense," Wang Lifan reminded Kellyan with a sweet smile, and Kellyan also tried to make himself less nervous. "Okay, then you just follow my steps. Take your time, you will feel it. Come on with the music." Wang Lifan gently put his left hand around Kellyan's waist and led him to turn slowly. This really cultivates tacit understanding, I think. Because he was afraid of stepping on Wang Lifan, Kellyan's eyes were always fixed on the ground. "Don't look at the ground, look at me," Wang Lifan, possessed by the domineering female president, ordered. When their eyes met, Kellyan felt that Wang Lifan in the dance floor was completely different from Wang Lifan in life. Her eyes were like stars, and he felt reluctant to look at her less. No one could resist the charm of Wang Lifan at this moment. At this second, Kellyan really felt that he had fallen in love. This is the magic of the dance floor, which can create an ambiguous atmosphere. "Wow, you are so handsome like this." Wang Lifan gave Kellyan some encouragement from time to time, and then made some exaggerated expressions from time to time, which completely relieved Kellyan's nervousness and made him blend into the dance floor. Back at the bar, Kellyan tried to calm himself down. The last few minutes were the most exciting he had ever experienced. In the bathroom, Wang Lifan also took a handful of water and splashed it on her face. Although she seemed to be very familiar with it, she had never tried to dance with a boy at such a close distance. Chapter 59. Take care of our lacquers. When Kellyan used the 2-day holiday to accompany Wang Lifan to visit Atlanta and spent their first New Year's Eve together, the Lakers team that had returned to Los Angeles first was shaken. Rudy Tomjanovich had hematuria, which directly shocked the entire Lakers team. The team immediately arranged for Tomjanovich to be hospitalized for treatment and tracked his physical condition. This was the opportunity Kellyan had been waiting for a long time, but he was not excited at this time, but sad. Since he came here, he has been growing up under Tomjanovich's care for most of the time and has gradually gained opportunities to show his talents. He went to the Rockets for an interview. He originally did not pass it, but Tomjanovich absorbed him into the coaching staff. The original intention might just be to communicate better with Yao Ming, but when he emerged, Tomjanovich did not suppress him at all, but gave Kellyan plenty of opportunities to show his talents. After training in the Suns, Kellyan was invited to the Lakers. Kellyan was called the third assistant coach, but in fact he was already the executive deputy coach. Even the on-the-spot dispatch and tactical adjustments during the timeout were handed over to him. When the media praised the genius assistant coach, they inevitably questioned Tomjanovich's clinging to Kimmy, but he never felt unhappy about it, but trusted Kellyan more. Kellyan hoped that such an old man could recover from the bottom of his heart. It was already afternoon when Kellyan returned to Los Angeles. As soon as possible, he rushed to the hospital to visit Tomjanovich. The journey was a bit far, and it took almost an hour to arrive. Kellyan bought some nutritional supplements in a nearby supermarket and came to the ward. The door of the ward was open, and many people were standing inside. After hearing the noise, the people inside turned around. Jim Buss, Kupchak and other Lakers staff. "Rudy, how is the situation?" Kellyanne asked. "The specific test results have not come out yet, but the possibility of cancer occurrence can be basically ruled out," Tomjanovich's wife Jenny said. "Fortunately, there should be no danger to life." Kellyanne also breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that history had not changed because of his arrival. Tomjanovich, who was lying on the hospital bed, looked at Kellyanne, and his pale face turned a little red. "Thank you for coming to see me, Kimmy. But you have a more important task now," Tomjanovich said. "For the team and for you, I will do my best." Kellyanne glanced at Tomjanovich and understood what he meant. "You have a good rest. I will go back to prepare now." Chapter 59. Take good care of our Lakers. New book uploaded. Please recommend, collect, and read. Kellyanne bent down and shook Tomjanovich's hand, expressing his blessings, and turned to leave. Take good care of our Lakers. Take good care of our Lakers. This sentence echoed in Kellyanne's mind. Kellyanne closed the door of the ward, and before he entered the elevator, Jim Buss chased out from behind and called Kellyanne. "Kimmy." Jim Buss looked at Kellyanne like a drowning man grabbing a life-saving straw. "Rudy means that the team may be handed over to you temporarily." To be honest, Kellyanne was not willing to discuss this topic at this time, but he also knew how serious the internal strife among the Lakers top management was. Under Jerry Buss, there were Jim Buss and Jeannie Buss, and Kupchak was waiting for an opportunity. Tomjanovich was a member of Jim Buss's faction. If he could not inherit Jim Buss' support for Tomjanovich, he would have no chance to sit in the position of acting head coach of the Lakers. Whether as an acting head coach or continuing to serve as an assistant coach, I will do my best to help the Lakers. Kellyanne expressed his attitude, and he was eager to become the acting head coach of the Lakers. Jim Buss nodded. "Do a good job. I will support you behind the scenes." At 8 p.m., the Lakers faced the challenge of the Supersonics at Staples Center. Both teams and the Dallas Mavericks had a record of 21 wins and 10 losses, but the Supersonics ranked 3rd in the West and the Lakers ranked 5th in the West. Even if the Lakers could win, they could not surpass the Supersonics, because the Supersonics were the champion team of the Northwest Division. Before the game, the big screen of the arena played the VCR of the team supporting Tomjanovich, which also received applause from the fans. Although many people say that the Lakers' excellent performance this season is due to Kellyanne, it is absolutely stupid to ignore Tomjanovich's contribution. Hamblin replaced Tomjanovich as the commander in this game, and Kellyanne sat next to him and made suggestions. This is also normal. Kellyanne has not been with the team for the past 2 days. When Tomjanovich got into trouble, the team must arrange someone to stabilize the morale of the team as soon as possible. Besides, Hamblin is the chief assistant coach, and his rank should also be his. Although the team made proper arrangements, Kellyanne could still clearly feel the low morale of the team. Players are also human beings. When such a big thing happens to the head coach, you can't ask the players not to have ideas. The starting lineups of both sides did not change much. The Lakers still had Atkins, Kobe, Butler, Odom, and Anderson. On the Sonics side, the starting lineup of Ridner, Ray Allen, Lewis, Radmanovic, and Jerome James played pleasing basketball. Jerome James won the jump ball and the game began. The Sonics opened up, Ray Allen received the ball outside, and Jerome James pulled out to screen. Ray Allen did not go to the side to bypass the wall, but suddenly accelerated and passed through the gap between the people. Kobe wanted to chase around the screen, but was a step slower. Ray Allen rushed to the free throw line and made a direct jump shot. The Lakers attacked. Odom got the ball in the middle. Anderson went to the side to screen Kobe and tied up the Sonics' defensive focus. Odom suddenly changed direction with the ball to the right, and Radmanovic was half a beat slower in moving sideways and was broken through. Odom's breakthrough attracted Lewis's help defense. Butler cut to the basket and carried Jerome James to make a layup. Although the ball did not go in, it caused a foul. Although it caused damage to the opponent, Butler did not seize the free throw opportunity and made one of 2 free throws. The Sonics attacked, and the Lakers players expanded their defense to prevent the opponent from easily firing from the outside. Lewis took the ball and broke into the Lakers inside line. Anderson and Odom formed a double team on him one after the other. Lewis's strong shot missed, and Jerome James put the ball into the basket. The Sonics have emerged as a dark horse this season. In addition to the efficiency improvement of twin stars Ray Allen and Lewis, the progress of floor point guard Redner and interior blue collar Jerome James is very important. The former can also play a firepower point when the team's offense is smooth, and can also stabilize the rhythm when the offense is not smooth. The latter has played a quasi double-double data of 11 plus 9 this season, firmly stabilizing the restricted area on the defensive end and seizing the opportunity to eat cakes on the offensive end. The Lakers attacked. Kobe received the ball at the corner, turned around and faced Ray Allen. He tried to take a step and then missed the jump shot. James grabbed the rebound and passed it to Ray Allen for a fast break. The latter ran across half court, turned to the right and past Kobe, attracted Atkins' defense, and passed it to Lewis, who cut in from the middle. The latter easily scored a layup and the Supersonics took a 6-1 lead at the start. The Lakers attacked. The players spread out. Kobe held the ball in the low post and played a singles game. He leaned on Ray Allen twice, turned to the baseline, and made a backward jump, shot 3-6. Ray Allen had a hard time defending Kobe one-on-one. The Lakers' offensive formation was spread out, and it was not easy for the Supersonics to form a double team. The Sonics played a positional battle. Redner led the team to the front court. Ray Allen ran from the baseline to the top line. Radmanovic made a pick and roll without the ball for him. Kobe was a step slower to go around the screen. Odom made up for the position in time, but missed Radmanovic, who was cutting in diagonally. Butler came to make up for the position, but it was too late. Radmanovic received the ball and threw it directly to Lewis on the weak side. The latter raised his hand and hit a three-pointer 3-9. This is the usual routine of the Sonics offense. Odom and Lewis were both responsible for the defense of this ball. The Lakers' start was a bit unfavorable. Chapter 60. How come giving the ball to the most powerful person is not a tactic? Compared to the disadvantage in the score, what Kellyanne didn't want to see more was the players messing around on the court. In the next round of offense, Kobe made Kellyanne's worries come true. He suddenly pulled up and shot a jump shot in the middle of the court facing Ray Allen. He avoided the block and the ball bounced out of the basket. This offense was too simple. Kellyanne's expression on the sidelines was not very good. Seeing that Hamblin hadn't responded yet, he immediately leaned over and spoke to remind him that it was time to call a timeout. Lewis grabbed the rebound and directly asked for advancement. He held the ball and made a fast break. He changed direction while running and successfully passed the opponent. Atkins pulled the player and fouled him in front of the three-point line. Taking advantage of this dead ball time, the Lakers called a timeout. Kellyanne, who hadn't said anything harsh in the game for a long time, turned on the hairdryer mode. This game is the first game that Frank and I coached after Coach Thompson fell ill. I don't want to say how important this game is. After all, no matter how important it is, no matter how first it is for me personally. However, I still have to say that this game is very important for the Lakers. We have the same record as the Supersonics and the Mavericks. If we win this game, we will at least be in the top 4 in the Western Conference. This is a battle for position, and we can't afford to lose. Rudy is sick, and people outside are laughing at the Lakers. They all think the Lakers are finished. But I don't think so. I think everything is in our hands. We can win respect for the fans, for Rudy, and for ourselves. I came to the United States and to the Lakers not to lose, and I believe that none of you are, because in this world, no one wants to be born a loser, and everyone wants to win, so we have to fight. Fight with all our strength, because without fighting, there can be no gain. We have to fight. Fight for every inch of land on the court. Fight for every chance to control the ball on the court, because we firmly believe that an inch of land, an opportunity, may change this game. Now, guys, at this moment, go out bravely and turn this boiling Staples Center into our paradise and our opponent's hell. The game started unfavorably. Rather than saying that there was a problem with the team's tactical arrangement, it was better to say that the players' mentality was completely messed up. So during the timeout just now, Kellyanne did not adjust the team's tactics, but instead passionately cooked a pot of chicken soup. The Lakers attacked. Kobe challenged Ray Allen turned around and made a fadeaway jumper. 9-5. The Supersonics used the same trick again. Ray Allen and Lewis played an off-ball pick and roll. Kobe and Butler switched defense in time. Lewis's jumper was almost blocked by Kobe, who switched defense. The ball bounced out of the basket, and Butler grabbed the rebound. The Lakers attacked. Butler rushed to the basket again, causing Jerome James to foul for the second time. Killian secretly clenched his fist on the sidelines. This foul was very important. Jerome James was the only reliable defender in the Sonics interior. In addition to him, the other two interior players of the Sonics, Wilcox, was a jumping interior player with less outstanding defensive awareness. Except for his slightly stronger pick and roll offense, the others were not as good as Anderson before he joined the Lakers. Collison's basic skills were solid, but his physical confrontation was weak. With the Sonics 4-man lineup standing on the periphery, Collison alone could not hold the restricted area. Although Butler missed the first free throw, Killian still felt that this attack was worth it when he saw McMillan replace Jerome James with Wilcox. As expected, Jerome James's departure had an impact on the Sonics' performance on both offense and defense. In the Sonics' offensive system, the pick and roll at the center position was very important. The team had 4 artillery pieces on the outside, and the center pulled out to pick and roll, which was equivalent to dispatching all the opponent's defensive forces, leaving the opponent's interior empty. Once the pick and roll, provided by the center, is not well timed and of low quality, the Lakers' Kobe, Odom, and Butler's athleticism can switch defenses in time, and the Sonics' offense will become sluggish. Including Barnes on the bench, the Lakers' front line is still pretty good, which is one of the reasons for the team's good record. On the other hand, on the defensive end, Wilcox has all the problems that Anderson has on the defensive end, and Radmanovic can provide him with less help than Odom. The Sonics' inside line was chased by Kobe and Butler. Killian turned into Tyrann and directly commanded the players, "My tactic is to give the ball to the most powerful one," helping the Lakers to establish a 7-point lead with 28:21 and end the first quarter. In the second quarter, the Sonics launched a counter-attack under the leadership of the 6th-man Daniels, scoring 5 points in a row at the beginning, narrowing the gap to only 1 point. The weakness of the team's substitute lineup also made Killian very worried, so he had to replace Atkins and Butler to stabilize the situation. Fortunately, the Sonics bench lineup was not very strong, and the Lakers were able to control the situation. When the official timeout came, the Lakers led by 3 points, 36-33. After the timeout, the Lakers' main lineup returned to the court, and Kobe led the Lakers to open the score again with his personal ability. At the end of the half, the Lakers led by 8 points, 51-43. In the third quarter, both sides had a bad touch and their offensive efficiency declined. The Sonics, a team that relies on outside shooting, are prone to power outages if they don't have a good touch on the offensive end. Even the Ultimate Warriors team sometimes falls into a scoring drought for a period of time. On the Lakers side, Kobe is sometimes iron, and the audience's way of enjoying the game is more dependent on their ears. The Lakers, who are good at offense, only scored 16 points in a single quarter, but on the other hand, their tenacious defense allowed the Sonics to score only 17 points. The difference between the two sides was still 7 points, and the victory or defeat was also determined in the fourth quarter. In the final quarter, both sides had to fight for every ball, and the defensive actions became more and more intense, full of gunpowder. Hamblin kept discussing with Killian on the sidelines and constantly adjusted tactics. The Supersonics used full court press to pressure the Lakers. The Lakers let Odom and Kobe retreat to protect the ball. After breaking the full court press, they did not shoot immediately, but slowed down the game rhythm and let go of some opportunities. They would rather let the game fall apart than let the Supersonics keep their touch. The game became a battle between Killian and McMillan, and Hamblin's presence was completely suppressed. But he did not hate Killian at this time. The team's victory is the most important. The Lakers always maintained a lead of more than 5 points over the Supersonics. In the last 2 minutes of the game, the Lakers still led by 6 points. McMillan made adjustments and replaced Ridner with Daniels, trying to catch up by adding an offensive point. The Lakers lineup did not change much. Kellyanne arranged a triangle offense to help Kobe create a one-on-one opportunity, attract double teaming and then pass the ball. At the moment of deciding the outcome, he put all his bets on Kobe. The Sonics attacked in a positional battle, with 4 players pulling away. Jerome James and Anderson positioned themselves to grab rebounds, while the other 3 stood still. Ray Allen faced Kobe directly. Ray Allen was experienced and controlled the ball to control the rhythm. In the last 5 seconds, Lewis mentioned the pick and roll. Ray Allen started with the ball and changed direction to the right. Odom filled in. Ray Allen continued to walk to the right, took Odom away, and passed the ball back to Lewis. The latter took the ball and shot a 3-pointer towards Kobe. The ball went in. 95-92, the difference was reduced to only 3 points. The game continued. Kobe took the ball and broke through from the outside. 3 players of the Sonics team shrunk to the penalty area together. McMillan's defensive arrangement was very clear, which was to double team Kobe. He would accept being shot to death by others. Kobe plunged into the crowd, jumped up and turned to pass the ball to the outside. Butler jumped and shot a 3-pointer with no one defending at 70 degrees on the left. The ball bounced out of the frame and Lewis grabbed the rebound. The tactics have been played out, and the open space has been created. Butler's 3-point shooting rate this season is nearly 37%, which is an absolutely qualified 3-point firepower point. Missing this opportunity is nothing but a pity. The Supersonics are attacking, and the Supersonics still have 4 artillery standing on the periphery to attract defense. With 8 seconds left in the offense, Jerome James made an off-ball pick and roll for Daniels. Anderson came out to switch defense in time. Unexpectedly, Daniels rushed towards Anderson's raised arm. The ball was not thrown out, but the referee blew the whistle and 2 free throws were made. This foul is very hardened. Daniels withstood the pressure amid the boos of the home fans and made both free throws 95-94, only 1 point behind. The Lakers are under great pressure. Kellyanne signaled Hamblin to call a timeout. Something must be done. Chapter 61, Chaos in the World. Since the Lakers lack offensive capabilities in the interior, the team's offense is mostly launched from the outside. Kellyanne pays great attention to the speed and shooting range of the players on the wing positions, hoping to use faster and more accurate players to fight against the higher opponents. However, this Supersonics team is more accurate than the Lakers. The 2 teams are like 2 branches of the Warriors team that made 5 finals from 2014 to 2019. Each team has inherited some of the technical characteristics of the Warriors, but no team dares to use the Warriors' killer move, the Death 5 Small. The Supersonics do not have a killer inside, and the threat of directly killing the Lakers in the interior is not great. Therefore, Kellyanne decided to take a gamble and replace Chris Anderson with Matt Barnes, pushing Barnes directly to the power forward position. In this way, Odom, who also has the ability to attack with the ball on the outside, needs to stand at the center position on the defensive end, and the 5 players on the Lakers field have the ability to shoot from the outside. The Lakers made a substitution, and commentator Wilson was very surprised. Here comes Matt Barnes, replacing Anderson. Odom takes the center position. What a bold arrangement. Commentator Morris was also a little bit unbelievable. At such a critical moment, the Lakers boldly used a change of formation. Barnes only scored 2 points before. Well, let him come up now. The ball was sent out. Odom passed it to Kobe and then stepped forward to play a pick and roll with Kobe. Kobe broke through to the right. Jerome James and Ray Allen rushed to Kobe together. Kobe passed the ball back to Odom at the top of the arc. The latter made a fake move to point Ray Allen and then broke into the penalty area. Radmanovic had no choice but to retreat to the penalty area to make up for the position and let Barnes in the bottom corner cleanly. The latter even had time to dribble the ball and shot a 3-pointer as if in training. Hit. The score difference widened to 4 points, and Kellyanne and Hamblin celebrated by clapping their hands. There were 44 seconds left in the game and the Lakers were leading by 4 points. The importance of Barnes' shot was comparable to the 3-pointer that Koji Okanobu made in the 2-episode match between Zyangbe and Ryanin. The point was that Kellyanne had just made her change in the formation and immediately achieved an immediate effect. Barnes hit a 3-pointer in the bottom corner, and the photographer on the scene immediately gave Kellyanne a close-up. Kellyanne shouted to the players on the sidelines, reminding them to strictly guard against the three-pointer of the Supersonics. This was also a strategy arranged in advance to induce the Supersonics to play inside and get a quick two-pointer. Sure enough, the Supersonics, who were strictly guarded on the outside, chose to get a quick two-pointer when they could not find a shooting opportunity. However, Jerome James received the ball at the basket just now and was fouled by Odom and his wrist was strangled. Kellyanne stood up and waved to the fans behind the Lakers basket, signaling them to make a louder sound to interfere with Jerome James' free throws. Then, 100 people responded. McMillan saw this and secretly cried out, "We've been tricked." The Lakers fouled Jerome James, who was the most unstable in free throws in the Supersonics. With the pressure from the home fans, the offensive threat of the Supersonics in this round was reduced to the lowest. McMillan complained to the referee and asked for a technical foul on Kellyanne. The referee came over to warn Kellyanne, but there was no basis for a technical foul. Bang! Jerome James missed the first free throw. Kellyanne had a 70% chance of winning in his heart, and he punched Anderson next to him to celebrate. Sure, the second free throw was made, and the chance of winning was 80%. There were 33 seconds left in the game. The Lakers were leading by 3 points and still had the ball. As long as the Lakers didn't make mistakes, it would be difficult for them to lose. The Supersonics' full court press was easily resolved with the cooperation of Kobe and Odom. Facing Hao Fang's empty Supersonics, Kobe didn't waste time dragging his feet and rushed directly to the basket. While sending the ball into the basket, he also caused Radmanovic to commit a defensive foul. Kobe made the free throw, and the score difference came to 6 points. McMillan did not call a timeout again. In 26 seconds, the 6-point gap was an insurmountable chasm for the Supersonics. When the final whistle sounded, the fans in the audience began to celebrate, and on the Lakers side, the players and coaching staff hugged each other, and the mood was high. Tomjanovic was absent due to illness, and there were many voices around the Lakers, which created considerable pressure for everyone. The victory in this game stabilized the morale of the Lakers. Kobe's statistics in this game were average. He made 11 of 24 shots, 1 of 3 3-pointers, and 4 of 4 free throws. He scored 27 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals. The Lakers won by the team. Butler, Odom, and Atkins scored in double digits. Although Anderson only scored 5 points, he grabbed 12 rebounds. No one will ignore Kellyanne's contribution. After returning to the locker room, Kupchak directly arranged for someone to notify Kellyanne to attend the post-match press conference. This was the first time since the start of the season. Previously, Tomjanovic had brought Kellyanne there. Compared with the team's victory, Tomjanovic's health and the future of the Lakers are the most concerned by the media reporters. In particular, whether Kellyanne will directly take the position of head coach of the team has touched the hearts of countless Chinese fans. There is no doubt that Chinese fans must hope that the NBA will have more Chinese element. The hospital has not given a clear time for when Rudy will come back. First of all, we have to pray for him and hope that he can recover. Before everything is settled, we will not discuss who will take over the Lakers. For me, the focus is still to do my job well. Hamblin, who is temporarily in charge of the team, also expressed his support for Kellyanne's remarks. Without Rudy, we did encounter some troubles, but I still have confidence that the coaching staff and players are ready. Kellyanne and Hamblin both expressed their support for Tomjanovic, but it must be said that many things are beyond human control. The next morning, the latest news came from the hospital. Tomjanovic's body could not continue to bear the burden of the NBA head coach, and he himself had made the decision to resign as the head coach of the Lakers. This time, the Lakers were in chaos. At the first time, a reporter dug out the news that Jerry Buss met with Phil Jackson 2 days ago, pointing out the possibility of the Zen Master's restoration. Considering that Tomjanovic had been ill for only 2 days, it can almost be said that Tomjanovic had just been admitted to the hospital and the test results had not yet been released, and Jerry Buss had already met Phil Jackson. This also made Kellyanne uncomfortable. Putting himself in other people's shoes, he absolutely did not want the management to contact someone to replace him when his situation was not yet determined. and former Bucks head coach George Karl was also hyped by the media as a popular candidate for the Lakers head coach. Compared with Phil Jackson, who had a grudge against Kobe, George Karl's coaching style was more gentle, and he respected the players, which might be more to the players' taste. Instead, the rumor of promoting Kenyan from within disappeared when the Lakers really needed to find a new coach to take over. As if this was a ridiculous suggestion. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62, The Turbulent Sea. Although Hamblin and Kenyan tried their best to maintain the stability of the locker room, more and more rumors still affected the state of the Lakers. Kobe ushered in a milestone in his career. After he received the Western Conference Player of the Month award for December, the team lost to the Minnesota Timberwolves 89-112 at home, and fell back to the 5th place in the Western Conference, 22-11. In this game, it was not a single player who performed poorly, but the whole team was pulled up. Kobe made 11 of 29 shots, 2 of 7 3-pointers, and 4 of 7 free throws in the whole game, scoring 28 points. The data was okay, but the efficiency was really poor. In addition to Kobe, only Butler and Atkins scored in double digits on the Lakers. The team's second-in-command Adam sleepwalked the entire game against Garnett and scored 5 points on 2 of 9 shots in the whole game. Garnett not only made Adam obedient, but also solved Anderson. Anderson, who averaged 9.3 rebounds per game this season, only grabbed 5 rebounds in this game, and the Lakers' restricted area was completely lost. A defeat made the outside media face up to the importance of Tom Janovic. What disappointed Kenyan even more was that the team management ignored the voices surrounding the team and did not have a clear statement. On January 4th, the day after the Lakers lost, Phil Jackson expressed his attitude in an interview with the media, making it clear that he enjoyed his current life and had no intention of taking over the position of head coach of the Lakers. Phil Jackson revealed a lot of inside stories in the Lakers locker room in his autobiography, released not long ago, including the details of the conflict between Kobe and O'Neal that many people wanted to know very much. The words clearly stood on O'Neal's side. In the book, he described Kobe as a lonely, selfish guy who did not trust his partners, which was the reason why the two had a huge conflict. In this interview, when the reporter asked Phil Jackson whether he refused to come out because of Kobe, Phil Jackson showed an intriguing smile and then vaguely passed over the question. This move also made many people begin to suspect that Kobe intervened in the work of the Lakers management, including the Lakers coaching selection. This also made the Lakers' problems more difficult. On January 5th, the Lakers challenged the Houston Rockets away and lost 95-106, suffering 2 consecutive losses. 22-12. Because of Van Gundy, the Rockets can be said to be the opponent that Kenyan least wants to lose. In this game, he continued the defensive strategy against O'Neal in the previous Christmas battle. Diop, Mim, and Anderson were deployed in stages, blocking in sections, and consuming Yao Ming. However, it must be admitted that Yao Ming's current strength may not be stable against O'Neal, but he is definitely more difficult to defend than O'Neal. First of all, he is not afraid of being cut. If you can't defend him, you can't defend him. Secondly, he can pull out to shoot, and using a pure meat shield like Diop to defend is generally ineffective. On the contrary, Anderson later honestly went around to defend, which caused more trouble for Yao Ming. The Lakers, who had been lagging behind, once narrowed the gap to 5 points in the second half of the third quarter. However, Anderson's injury ended the Lakers' momentum of chasing points. When he was defending the basket, he jumped up to block McGrady, but was pushed away from top to bottom by McGrady, lost his center of gravity, and broke his shoulder. After an MRI examination, the Lakers officially announced with regret that Anderson would be absent for 4 to 6 weeks. Although the team still has 2 centers, Mim and Diop, in Kenyan's tactical system, they are all substitutes. Even if Anderson has many problems, he is still the main force. His absence is a huge loss for the Lakers. The team was in chaos from top to bottom. Kellyanne tried his best to stabilize the team's locker room and talked to Butler and I up one after another. He also talked to Odom, but the other party was busy in the nightclub and had no intention of listening to his preaching. Even if you are a coach, you cannot infringe on the human rights of the players. If you have any suggestions, you can make them during training, but not during private life. Odom didn't say it so arrogantly, but that's what he meant. On the other hand, Kellyanne is just an assistant coach, younger than Odom, so it's normal for him to be business-like with him. If it were a big-name coach like Phil Jackson or George Carroll, Odom would have to obey his instructions, even if he called him in his private time. At 7 o'clock in the morning, Kellyanne was still half asleep when he received a call from Hamblin, which was earlier than he thought. "Kobe, come out and have breakfast together, let's talk," Hamblin said seriously. "Okay, where?" "Anywhere near the stadium is fine." Fred 62 is a well-known retro restaurant in Los Angeles. Its citrus banana cream French toast, pan-baked eggs or salmon benedict potato pancakes are famous and not expensive. Kellyanne and Hamblin only paid $48 for 2 people. "We have lost 2 games in a row recently, and both were to opponents with slightly worse records than us. They were all in a battle for position. It will be very troublesome if it continues like this," Hamblin said. "I don't want the good situation that Rudy has created for us to be ruined in vain." "Kobe, what do you think?" "Wow. Who are you interviewing for me?" Kellyanne fiddled with the baked eggs on his plate and said casually, "If you want to understand it this way, I have no problem." Hamblin stared at Kellyanne blankly. His eyes said everything. "Maybe this is really an interview. If we don't want to continue losing, we must first solve the team's morale problem. First of all, we must have a clear head coach candidate. If this problem is solved as soon as possible, the team can at least ensure a place in the playoffs. If the new head coach agrees with my ideas, I will suggest that he seek to strengthen the lineup and add an inside scoring point and a backup point guard through trades. If we do these 2 things, maybe we can pursue better results." Kellyanne explained his ideas and also used some language skills. "Inside scoring points are not easy to trade, right? Do you have a suitable candidate?" Hamblin asked tentatively. "Maybe it will be difficult, but it is definitely feasible. We played a game with him not long ago, and I was impressed by the content of his game." Kellyanne did not say it clearly, but Hamblin thought about it for a while, and there was only one candidate who met the requirements of inside scoring points, played against the Lakers not long ago and performed well, and possible to operate, and that was the Kings boss, Chris Webber. Kellyanne likes and is good at using power forwards with strong support capabilities, which can be seen from training. Hamblin absolutely believes that Kellyanne can make good use of Webber. As for the possibility of a trade, Hamblin doesn't need to worry about it. This is something that Jerry Buss and Kupchak should consider. "I can also tell you some information I know. Mitch," Kupchak asked Kobe for your opinion on being the team's acting head coach, and Kobe agreed. "I believe Mitch will consider Kobe's opinion. Therefore, at the management level, you have already received 2 votes. In addition, at the locker room level, Butler, Anderson, and Barnes definitely support Kellyanne's promotion. Together with Kobe, it can almost be said that Kellyanne has the support of the Lakers locker room. If Kupchak chooses to listen to Kobe's opinion and stand with Jim Buss, then Kellyanne is likely to take over the Lakers coaching temporarily." Chapter 63 A Better Tomorrow. "Thank you for your support, Frank." With a plan in mind, Kellyanne thanked Hamblin. Generally speaking, if there is no big name head coach, the chief assistant coach will temporarily take over as the head coach. Kupchak should have consulted Hamblin's opinion, and the other party should also support him. "You are more suitable than me." The 2 have been partners for half a year. Hamblin knows how strong Kellyanne's ability is. Executive assistant coach is not only a joke of the fans, but also a true reflection of Kellyanne's work scope and workability. In comparison, Hamblin feels that he is more suitable as an assistant coach. This position can better play his advantages of grasping training and being good at pre-match preparation. That is, the morning after Kellyanne and Hamblin had breakfast together, the team owner Jerry Buss knocked on the door of the office. "Mr. Jerry Buss, what's the matter?" When the opportunity came, Kellyanne seemed extremely calm. Jerry Buss looked at Kellyanne, and he suddenly found that he could not see through this young Chinese man, and he had never seen through him. With the team's actions to fuel the situation, Kellyanne is now quite famous. From signing Anderson to improve the team's interior defense to designing offensive tactics, helping the Lakers become the top 5 offensive firepower teams in the league in the new season, his contribution is self-evident. But what really makes Jerry Buss unable to see through is that Kellyanne clearly predicted that the Suns would rise in the new season, and also knew that the Lakers were a deep pool of water, but he gave up the opportunity to easily brush up his resume, learned from Durant, and took the hardest road. Is it for Tom Janovich's face? Jerry Buss really doesn't think so. Kellyanne is such a strong-minded person, it is impossible for him to do something that will damage his future because of past feelings. Can we chat for a few words? Jerry Buss sighed in a complicated way and asked kindly. Kellyanne works for him, can he say no? He immediately nodded and welcomed him in. Rudy handed in his resignation to me last night, Jerry Buss said lightly. Kellyanne's eyes flashed, but he didn't react much. It was just a matter of time. I have discussed with the management. We hope you can temporarily take charge of the team and serve as the team's acting head coach until the new head coach takes office. Jerry Buss stared at Kellyanne and said, choosing Kellyanne was the best option he had. He was less than 25 years old. If confirmed, he would become the youngest head coach in NBA history. There were many players on the team who were even older than him. But Jim Buss, Kupchak, Kobe Bryant, and a considerable number of players in the locker room supported him, and Jerry Buss had to consider these voices. When Kellyanne and Hamblin were trying to maintain the stability of the team, and when he was still trying his best to reconcile the conflict between Kobe and Phil Jackson did not care about the interests of the team at all and spoke out, which also accelerated Jerry Buss's decision to choose Kellyanne. Thanks to Rudy's efforts, the team is in a good situation. I hope you can maintain the team's current record. Kellyanne still didn't speak because he understood that only by keeping silent at this time could he gain the greatest power for himself. Sure enough, Jerry Buss saw Kellyanne pondering and paused, and then took the initiative to say, I also know that it is not easy to take over such a job. You can be fully responsible for the team's affairs. If you have any ideas for trades and signings, you can tell Mickey. If he doesn't handle it, you can talk to me directly. In addition, we will also increase your salary appropriately. You can rest assured about this. The first Chinese NBA head coach and the youngest head coach in NBA history are titles that can bring Kellyanne much more potential benefits than increased salary. Therefore, Kellyanne is not so concerned about the salary increase. He values the rights given to him by Buss more, that is, the rights to trade and sign. If he can bring the players he wants, he is confident that he can support the Lakers, which should have sunk. Mr. Jerry Buss, don't worry, I will do my best. After hearing this, Jerry Buss was satisfied. After encouraging Kellyanne a few more words, he went out. After Jerry Buss left, Kellyanne suddenly laughed. He had been waiting for this opportunity since he left the Suns, and now, the opportunity has finally come. After leaving the office, Kellyanne immediately went to find Hamblin and told him about the team's decision to let him take over temporarily. This should be the best decision for the team. Hamblin said. When the training was over, the team's general manager Kupchak came out of the office, called the players together, and announced Kellyanne's appointment as the team's acting head coach. Wow. I said it would be best for the team to let Kimmy take over. Anderson was the first to laugh. Butler was also very happy. Without Kellyanne, he might not be able to become a starter so easily. He might even be competing for the best sixth man. The other players were not as emotional as Anderson, but how should I put it? Except for Kobe, Walton, Mim and a few others, the others joined the Lakers this season. Kellyanne knows them inside out. If a new head coach comes, the players and the coach will have to get used to each other. For most people, the result of Kellyanne taking the position is at least not bad. Seeing that the players were in high spirits, Kellyanne nodded slightly. Very good. It seems that my work as an assistant coach during this period has been recognized by everyone. Recently, we have suffered 2 consecutive losses. There are many reasons, and it is not all your responsibility. But I believe that everyone is a very professional player. After the storm, you should adjust to the best state in time. In the evening, everyone, say hello to LeBron. Tomjanovich resigned and Kellyan took over. This news caused a big response in the NBA. After all, he was the genius assistant coach hyped by the Los Angeles media for half a season. After Phil Jackson officially announced his rejection of the Lakers, there have been rumors that Kellyan would take over, but most fans still don't believe that the Lakers will directly appoint such a young Kellyan. But when the facts were in front of them, and Jerry Buss decided to bet on Kellyan, most people had psychological expectations and doubts, but they did not resist. On the contrary, in the sports circle of China, this news caused an earthquake. Everyone was still looking forward to when Li Jianlian would participate in the draft, and someone rushed to the NBA before him. If the news that Kellyan had previously served as an assistant coach in the NBA made most basketball fans know of his existence, then his appointment as head coach this time made 90% of sports fans and a considerable number of passers-by remember this catchy name, Kellyan. Kellyan became a hot topic, and the Evening Sports World program took out 10 minutes to give a brief introduction to Kellyan. At the same time, the game between the Lakers and the Cavaliers replaced the Chinese Dragon Boat race and was included in CCTV's broadcast plan for the next morning. Chapter 64 Coaching Debut. In the locker room, Kobe looked serious. Before entering the league, James signed a 7-year, $90 million endorsement contract with Nike. In contrast, Kobe, who had already won 3 consecutive championships, only got a 5-year, $45 million contract from Nike during the same period. It's not that the contract given to Kobe is less, but the contract given to James is the second largest contract in Nike's history, second only to Michael Jordan. This is enough to show Nike's optimism about James, the chosen one, translated into Chinese as the son of heaven. And James did not disappoint Nike's expectations. In the first year, he beat Anthony to win the best rookie, and in the second year he was directly promoted to the ranks of the league's first-line stars. The title of Jordan's successor, that Kobe wanted to get rid of, is now covered by James. All of this makes Kobe uncomfortable. The reason is simple: being stronger than the opponent, and getting less than the opponent. No one is happy. In addition to James, the other player with a certain degree of independent offensive ability in this Cavaliers team is Drew Gooden, but he has always been in an unstable state. Lama, Gooden is in your hands. I don't want to see him get a simple chance to score in the 3-second zone. At the same time, pay attention to more support when attacking. The Cavaliers are very capable of creating turnovers and counterattacks. The Cavaliers usually use a double point guard tactic this season. If Snow is against you, you must resolutely eat him up in the low post. Is that okay, Kobe? Kellyan looked at Kobe. This should be Kobe's favorite job. Of course. If LeBron comes to defend you, it means that there are errors in the Cavaliers' defensive rotation system. At that time, you need to handle the ball more rationally, Kellyan emphasized. Taking over the job of head coach, Kellyan did not have any discomfort and was familiar with it. Although the Cavaliers' defensive efficiency is not bad, it is really based on James's ups and downs and back and forth defense. Kobe did not respond. What TMD rationality, isn't it enough to kill James? Karen, the task of defending James is mainly given to you. Unless he breaks into the 3-second zone, Chris, Mim, will help you. Otherwise, you have to rely on yourself. There is only one principle: defend against breakthroughs but not shots. James' mid-range hit rate is only 42%, and only 37% outside the 3-second zone. I want you to force him to shoot from mid-range and long range. If you do this, we will win half of the game. At this stage, James' shooting is definitely his biggest weakness. The super strong impact supported by his iron bones is almost unstoppable. Even if the opponent adopts a defensive strategy of defending against breakthroughs but not shots, without sufficient outside defense, most of the time they can't withstand his impact. The Lakers have good wing strength, but it's hard to say whether they can withstand James. But the Cavaliers have average overall strength. Investing more defensive resources in James will not cause an imbalance in defense at other points. Kellyan made full arrangements for his coaching debut, but even so, he was still a little nervous deep down. After all, it was his first game as a head coach. The Staples Center was packed with people, and the atmosphere was very hot, especially when the players from both teams came on the court. Kellyanne came to the coach's seat and saw Mike Brown looking at him not far away. He smiled politely and walked over. "Good luck, young man." According to the age of coaches in the league, Mike Brown is also a young coach now, but compared with Kellyanne is a baby coach. "We will definitely win this game," Kellyanne said with a smile. "We too." Mike Brown still smiled. The game started with the referee's whistle. Ilgauskas beat Mim. McGinnis grabbed the ball, dribbled across half court, and passed it to James. Butler gave James one step of space. With this step of space, James started to attack the inside line. Butler got stuck in position, but was still broken by James' defense. This collision, if it were anyone else, they would at least lose their balance, not to mention lying flat on the ground. However, James adjusted back in one step, broke through the defense, while stabilizing his center of gravity, and carried Butler away, scoring at close range. It is said that James's scoring is not as beautiful as Kobe's, but it is still very exciting to watch this kind of explosive muscle collision live. The Lakers attacked, and Kobe fell to the low post to play against Snow, who is a backcourt player with good defensive ability in the league, but his height, body shape, and strength are all not as good as Kobe, who is a swingman. Kobe opened up the space and easily hit the mid-range shot. The superstars of both sides hit the ball in their best way. The difference is that James can defeat 10 people with one force, while Kobe has obviously grasped the pain point of the Cavaliers' defense. If Snow defends alone, Kobe will definitely beat him. In the Cavaliers' positional battle, James and Ilgauskas' high post pick and roll was not very effective, and the distance was not enough. James did not choose to rush directly to the inside, but dribbled to the bottom corner to find another opportunity. The Lakers' defense was organized in time, and there was little time left for the attack. James forced a breakthrough and tried to compress the Lakers' defense and then pass the ball, but he could not find a suitable route to pass the ball, so he could only force a shot and missed. Mim protected the backcourt rebound, dribbled 2 steps, and then passed the ball to Odom, who was protecting him. The Lakers did not rush to attack, but chose to slow down the pace and play a positional battle. Kobe received the ball in the low post on the right side, facing Snow's defense, turned to the right and shot, smoothly pulling away from Snow, but the shot missed the basket. Ilgauskas grabbed the backcourt rebound and launched a fast break as soon as possible. James forced his way into the inside and passed the ball to Gooden, who deceived Odom with a fake move and scored a layup. The Lakers attacked. Kobe took the initiative to play pick and roll with Odom. Snow bypassed Odom and cooperated with Gooden to double-team Kobe. Kobe transferred the ball to the middle, and Odom shot directly from outside the three-point line. The Cavaliers served the ball from the backcourt, and McGinnis received the ball and slowly advanced. He always felt that something was wrong in the front court. Suddenly, he saw James in the front court shouting something loudly. Before he could react, the basketball in his hand had been intercepted. Just after Odom made a three-pointer, Butler, who was in the bottom corner, did not return to the backcourt immediately, but hid in the crowd outside the court. When McGinnis' attention was on the Lakers' half, he suddenly rushed out from behind and completed the steal. Accelerating past Ilgauskas, Butler easily dunked and scored. 7:4. The Lakers fans at the scene were jubilant. Such a creative way of scoring is really rare. Butler, the initiator, returned to defense and celebrated with Kobe. This scene may not be selected as the top 10 shots today, but it will definitely be replayed when reviewing this season. The Cavaliers attacked, but could not find space after several passes from the outside. James missed the mid-range jump shot from the outside with a screen. He used his speed to get rid of Butler by half a body length, but the Lakers' defensive strategy today was very clear. That is, not to let James enter the basket. Even if James got rid of Butler by running without the ball, Odom, Kobe and even Mim used the same defensive strategy. Come here. Except for McGinnis, the Cavaliers' outside shooting was unstable and could not open up space for James' breakthrough. McBrown noticed the problem and called Pavlovic from the bench to replace him when the ball was dead. Kobe continued to torture Snow on the offensive end. James stepped forward to make up for the defense. Butler cut to the basket and forced Ilgauskas to play hard. Although the ball did not go in, it caused Ilgauskas to foul. The Lakers expanded their lead, and the Cavaliers got what they wanted, and took the opportunity of the dead ball to replace Pavlovic. Pavlovic is a typical white shooter, with accurate open shots from the outside and good static confrontation, but his best position is small forward, and even at the small forward position, he is slow to move. His weakness in lateral movement is completely exposed when he is put at the second position, not to mention that he is facing Kobe in this game. Substituting him may improve the team's offense to a certain extent, but what is more certain is that the defensive weaknesses will be further magnified. Chapter 65 A shot of cardiac stimulant. The Lakers insisted on the defensive strategy of Butler's single defense, and Mike Brown's adjustment did not have much effect. James forced Butler and faced Mims' help defense. He chose to pass the ball from the opponent's armpit to Ilgauskas, who received the ball, adjusted, and dunked. The speed was like slow motion, and was blocked by Kobe, who was inward. After grabbing the backcourt rebound, Kobe immediately launched a fast break, and James also ran back from the front court without stopping. His ability to chase blocks is beyond doubt. Kobe did not choose a more stable pass, but slowed down, controlled his pace, waited for James to catch up, stepped back and leaned on him to score a steady layup. This is not the best way to deal with it, and the posture is not good looking, but it is very practical, and this method more or less stimulates James. Playing is not just about the body. If you rush over, I can also make you unable to use your strength. The Cavaliers attacked. James and Ilgauskas completed the pick and roll, attracted the double team, and passed the ball back, and Ilgauskas made a mid-range shot. This time, Pavlovic played the role of the offensive end. At least he could involve the Lakers defense and prevent the Lakers from withdrawing so recklessly. But on the defensive end, Pavlovic was also helpless in defending Kobe. Snow did not have the advantage of height and strength, but he could keep up with the pace, while Pavlovic was not mobile enough, especially in lateral movement. Kobe walked from the baseline to the top line, and an easy pass around the screen could shake off Pavlovic, break into the basket and hit Gooden, causing the opponent to foul. Mike Brown's adjustment did not help the Cavaliers solve the team's defensive problems. Kobe had everything he wanted against Pavlovic on the offensive end, and maintained a very high efficiency. The Cavaliers' offense and defense conversion, which they were good at, could not be played, and they could only rely on James' personal strong play and Gooden and Ilgauskas' piecemeal scoring. For James, it is hard to say whether it is lucky or unfortunate to meet Mike Brown, the coach at the beginning of his career. Brown determined the Cavaliers' policy of defense depends on everyone, offense depends on James, and let everyone serve James. This has indeed improved the Cavaliers' combat effectiveness and made James feel comfortable, but it also restricted the Cavaliers' ceiling and even James' development. James has obvious skill deficiencies when facing the highest level of defense. 07 Finals, 11 Finals. That is, the Lakers do not have a big center who can stand alone, otherwise Kenyon can make James even more uncomfortable. Facing the future number 1 in the league, Kobe was determined to educate the other party. He scored 26 points in the first half, and felt the rhythm of 50 plus in the whole game, leading the Lakers to lead the Cavaliers by 17 points with 60:43. It is expected to win the first game of his coaching career. In the locker room, Kenyon actively relieved the pressure for the players. During the halftime break, Wilson, the commentator of Warner TV, expressed his approval of Kenyon. When the Lakers announced Kobe as the team's acting head coach, everyone thought it was too early. He performed well as an assistant coach, but he was too young after all. But from the performance in the first game, Kobe performed well, and the team's defense against James was very successful. Commentator Lynch smiled and said, choosing a suitable head coach in the middle of the season is not an easy task. When Rudy was in office, Kobe was responsible for the arrangement of the team's offensive tactics and on-the-spot dispatch. When Rudy suddenly changed, and the Lakers needed to stabilize the morale of the troops, Kobe was the most suitable candidate. I never doubted this. As the broadcaster of the Lakers, Warner certainly hopes that the Lakers will perform well, and the ratings of the game will be high. Most of the time, they will say things that are beneficial to the Lakers. Just like CCTV broadcasts the Rockets games, Yoga and Zangheli 90% of the time are talking about how the Rockets should play to suppress their opponents and what they did well. It's the same reason. In the second half of the game, Mike Brown adjusted the defensive strategy and arranged James to directly match Kobe to limit Kobe's singles. Kobe, who was a little too excited, ignored Kellyanne's reminder that when James comes to defend you, it means that there is a loophole in the Cavaliers' defensive rotation. He missed 2 singles in a row, and the Cavaliers seized the opportunity to convert offense and defense. The Cavaliers completed a 6:0 attack wave and narrowed the score difference to 11 points. Seeing that the situation was not good, Kellyanne called a timeout immediately. "This is a game, not a gladiatorial arena. We don't need you to fight that beast in a one-on-one fight. You know how serious Pavlovic's defensive problem is. Make a fuss about this point and win the game first." Kellyanne didn't even need to draw tactics on the tactical board. The difficulties during this period were entirely caused by Kobe's stubbornness. The Cavaliers are only the 8th ranked team in the East. Their weaknesses are right there. What are you thinking if you don't target them? Kobe's face was not very good after being scolded by Kellyanne. He wanted to refute something, but didn't say anything. He just waited until the timeout ended and muttered a few words expressionlessly. It was unclear whether he was talking back to Kellyanne or expressing his dissatisfaction with himself. The changes brought about by this timeout were immediate. The Lakers attacked. Kobe received the ball in the half court. He used Oddom's screen to accelerate past James in one step and rushed straight to the inside. Gooden's switch defense was not favorable, but Pavlovic and Big Z simultaneously put down their defenders and went to the penalty area to prepare for supplementary defense. Facing Pavlovic's very accurate blocking defense, Kobe slowed down his body, suddenly held the ball in his right hand, and moved to the left, making a fake stop jump shot, inducing Pavlovic to rush over to block the shot, and then shook his wrist and passed the ball from Pavlovic's armpit. Butler, who cut into the basket, caught the basketball and easily put the ball into the basket. Kobe made a timely change and did not choose to continue to force the game, which caught the Cavaliers off guard. Kobe, who was brave enough to learn from his mistakes, made another contribution on the defensive end. Facing James' bully breakthrough, he returned to the defense in time and blocked James's shot. Then he scored a layup in a fast break, bringing the score difference back to 15 points. The Lakers' adjustment was effective immediately, and Mike Brown immediately entered the at-a-loss mode. His on-the-spot adjustment had always been problematic, and the gap was even more obvious when compared with Kellyanne. He could not come up with a solution, and watched the Lakers widen the score difference to 20 plus. After falling behind by 22 points in the fourth quarter, James did not intend to give up the game and went into battle at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Then he encountered a brutal foul from Barnes right at the start. Barnes, who was crushed by James, directly used a beheading defensive move on James, which almost caused a conflict between the two sides. Barnes' defensive moves have always been very big, and the coaching staff has to keep an eye on him during training, otherwise he will conflict with his teammates. However, this kind of guy with a tougher style of play is really useful on the court. The referee whistled a technical foul on Barnes, giving James the opportunity to throw 2 free throws. James seized the opportunity and narrowed the gap to 18 points in one attack. Looking back, the Lakers played a wonderful match. Walton made a pick and roll and broke into the basket with a behind-the-back pass to dismantle the Cavaliers' defense. Grant got the chance to dunk and score. Walton, who is usually looked down upon by Kellyanne, can make contributions. The Lakers' winning momentum in this game seems unstoppable. When the main lineup returns, the Lakers will exert their strength, and the Cavaliers can't stand it. The team relies on James to charge on the offensive end and James to fly up and down on the defensive end. Even if the little emperor is strong, he is always unable to do his best and his efficiency declines. The Lakers relied on Kobe and Oddum to score to widen the gap, and finally won by 22 points with 109-87, ending their 2-game losing streak. This victory not only helped the team end its 2-game losing streak, but also served as a shot in the arm in a critical moment. Killian's coaching debut ended with such a resounding victory, which can be regarded as a powerful response to all kinds of disturbing rumors from the outside world. Chapter 66, the prototype of future basketball. Killian, Kobe Bryant and Hamblin attended the post-match press conference together. As the head coach leading the Lakers to victory, Killian enjoyed the enthusiasm of the Los Angeles media, which was the attention he would never get as an assistant coach. As soon as Killian sat down, reporters began to ask, "Kimmy, this is your first game coaching the Lakers. Did you think about a big win before the game? Anything can happen on the court. For a head coach like me who doesn't have much experience, I have considered any result." Killian joked to himself, "This victory is also what I expect to see." The English name of the head coach is head coach. Many people call him baby coach because of his age. This is not a compliment to his youth and potential, but more of a joke about his inexperience. Killian's speech was also a very strong response. Then another reporter asked Killian how he wanted to build the Lakers. "To be honest, the Lakers are in a proper position in the league. I hope that with the joint efforts of me, the players and the coaching staff, the Lakers can be promoted. We need to find the right direction, work together and make appropriate adjustments." On the surface, these are all very official answers. In fact, Killian's repeated mention of direction and adjustment has also hinted that the team needs to strengthen its leadership. Although the Lakers defeated the Cavaliers, they did not become the focus of public opinion. The 5th place in the West beat the 8th place in the East, which is not a big news in itself. Although everyone praises James, insiders do not think that James is really stronger than Kobe. The former is still young James, while the latter has entered his peak period and can be called the league's top killer on the offensive end. After winning the game, the Lakers had no time to rest. They immediately took a plane to Washington to face the Wizards back-to-back. The next day, he did not arrange training so that the players could take a holiday to stay in the hotel to recover their physical strength. In back-to-back games, full physical strength is the basis for winning. No matter how high the basketball IQ is, or how good the skills are, it will not help if the person cannot run. In the morning, Killian was studying the Wizards in the hotel when she received a call from Wang Lifan. As a girlfriend, Wang Lifan congratulated Killian on winning the first victory in her coaching career. Killian originally wanted to share this victory with Wang Lifan. However, the other party was still in Atlanta with his family, and he was very sorry to miss this milestone for Killian. "Then you can compensate me in other ways," Killian hinted. I don't know why Wang Lifan, a girl who came to the United States with her parents at the age of 5 and received a full American education, is so conservative. Even though they have confirmed their relationship, the contact between the two is limited to hugging and cuddling, let alone hitting the base. There is not even a kiss. "Okay, if you lead the team to 3 consecutive wins, I will give you a reward." After thinking for a moment, Wang Lifan gave the conditions. 3 consecutive wins, okay, it's a deal. This motivational method of his girlfriend is very special. Killian felt speechless at first, but then he thought that it would be good as a reward. 3 consecutive wins can be a breakthrough. Shouldn't 5 consecutive wins be more generous? 10 consecutive wins should be at least. Hey, the 04-05 season is really a season of change in the league, and the progress of the season is very different from the media's predictions. The Suns, Supersonics, Bulls, and other teams that were not optimistic about them suddenly emerged, and the Wizards are also a rising team this season. In the offseason, the team traded Stackhouse for the super 6th man Jameson, and paired with Arenas to form a strong inside and outside scoring partner. The two with strong shooting ability also activated Larry Hughes, who is good at both offense and defense, but not good at shooting, and the 1.0 version of the Wizards' Three Musketeers was formed. It is not just Larry Hughes who has made obvious progress in the Wizards this season. Hayward has grown into a qualified meat shield center this season, providing a defensive backup for the Wizards. On the contrary, Kwame Brown, the once highly expected number 1 draft pick, has completely become a substitute. The offense is strong, but the defense is weak, and the offense relies on the outside line, and there is no low post killer. To deal with such an opponent, Killian decided to change the formation. In the locker room, Killian called the players together and announced, "Today's starting lineup is adjusted. Chris is on the bench and Matt is starting. Min felt a little wronged. He only hated that he was not Kalyan's favorite player. If Anderson hadn't been injured, Kalyan would never have arranged it this way. Jamison is very mobile and shoots very accurately. He is more like a small forward. Matt, keep an eye on him. Remember, don't let him trick you into committing a foul. Haywood has no offensive ability, and he doesn't have the ability to pull out of the penalty area to defend on the defensive end. I want to make him at a loss on the defensive end. Sounds familiar, right? This was the Heat's strategy against the Thunder in the 2012 finals. All 5 points of the Heat have considerable shooting ability. The Thunder's meat shield inside player Perkins was targeted in that round of the series. The Thunder's defensive rotation had problems and was killed by Battia's shooting. This tactic is a bit epoch-making. No matter how crazy old Nelson or D'Antoni are, no matter how offensive mad they are, they have never removed the center from the starting lineup. Therefore, when the Lakers starting lineup was released, many people dropped their jaws. The center didn't even play. Do you want to be crushed? I now believe Kami is Nelson's disciple. He's so good at making things happen. Whoever controls the basket can control the whole court. Kami, what are you doing? It's open. It's open. I bet Haywood will get a double-double today. Who dares to bet? Odom beat Haywood in the jump ball. Atkins received the ball and dribbled it to the front court to pass it to Kobe. Then ran to the right corner. Kobe broke through with the ball, changed direction and jumped to get rid of Larry Hughes from the right. Haywood made up for the defense. Kobe jumped up and passed the ball to the corner. Barnes was unattended and shot easily, and the three-pointer was hit steadily 3-0. Barnes basically practiced Bowen and the Lakers defense and three-pointers in the bottom corner. Occasionally, he would be a bad guy to show the toughness of the Lakers, and he didn't do much despicable things like stepping on the feet. The Wizards attacked. The Lakers were in position on defense. Arenas forced his way past Atkins, used his strong body to push the defender away, and made a shot. Kobe is one of the hardest working people in the league, while Arenas is the one who has trained himself to death. From him, many people have come to understand that unscientific training can really ruin a person. Arenas is now reaping the benefits of his crazy training. He is strong, has a soft touch, and is skilled. He is definitely one of the strongest scorers in the league. The Lakers attacked in a positional battle, and Barnes went to the bottom corner again. This time, Haywood went to the free throw line to defend Odom. Perhaps because he was not confident in his touch today, Odom did not shoot directly from outside the three-point line. He dribbled forward a step, turned his back to the ball, and made a hand-to-hand pass with Kobe. The moment Kobe received the ball, he stopped, shook off Larry Hughes, and made a mid-range shot. Haywood's brain was still shutting down. The Wizards were on offense. Jamison received the ball and challenged Barnes. He failed to get past his opponent with his skills. His quick stop jump shot was blocked and missed. The rebound was taken by Odom. The latter grabbed the rebound and immediately accelerated across half court and passed it to Butler, who was following. Butler took one step and pulled up the ball. He made a layup with Jarvis Hayes, 7:2. At the beginning of the game, the Lakers' change of formation was effective. The Wizards were caught off guard by the strange formation in front of them. Chapter 67, Tactical Victory. The Wizards had a bad start, and head coach Eddie Jordan was also a little slow in adjusting. This is also a common problem for most practical coaches, players turned coaches. They have a significant gap in tactical knowledge compared to academic coaches, and some single-threaded thinking. Whether it is pre-match preparation, tactical training or on-the-spot scheduling, Eddie Jordan has been slow to make adjustments in the formation, hoping that Jamison can suppress Barnes. Jamison, known as the scoring machine, is one of the most low-key inside scorers in the league. Within the three-point line, he can choose to hold the ball and shoot, or receive a screen shot. Outside the three-point line, Jamison's hit rate is not comparable to that of top shooters, but it is also qualified. No one will let Jamison shoot three-pointers. When playing against small players, Jamison also has the ability to score with his back, using his wide body to block Barnes. Connecting a lateral step, Jamison made a small hook shot and hit it accurately. Barnes couldn't defend Jamison, but on the offensive end, he stood in the corner smoking, and it was enough for Jamison to pull out and hand him an ashtray. Haywood couldn't get out on the defensive end, and the Lakers were 4 versus 3 outside the restricted area. Kobe turned his back to Larry Hughes and made a turnaround jump shot. 9:4. In a regular season game in 2000, Jamison, who played for the Warriors, made 21 of 29 shots against the Lakers, scoring 51 points, 13 rebounds and 5 assists, while Kobe made 18 of 35 shots and scored 51 points, 7 rebounds and 8 assists. The two of them scored 50 plus points, and Jamison led the Warriors to overturn the Lakers led by the OK combination with a score of 125:122. This game seems to be the same process. The Wizards' most obvious advantage is the matchup between Jamison and Barnes, while on the Lakers side, Kobe used the space created by the small Linoop to score without mercy. The two people's confrontation was back and forth, and sparks flew. By the end of the first quarter, Kobe scored 15 points and Jamison scored 12 points. The score of the two teams in the first quarter was 33:27, with the Lakers leading by 6 points. The situation of the game went from a disadvantage at the beginning to a balance. Eddie Jordan secretly breathed a sigh of relief and encouraged the players vigorously. "Guys, you did a great job." The Lakers tried to use a small Linoop to improve their offensive firepower and achieved good results. But you resisted, and we did a good job on the offensive end. The current score difference is not big. They are fighting back to back and are at a disadvantage in terms of physical strength. You must continue to maintain such aggressiveness in the next game, and don't give the other side a chance to relax. Hang in there, we can win. The Wizards' Linoop is slightly thicker than the Lakers. The rotation Linoop of Blake, Larry Hughes, Dixon, Kwame Brown, and Etan Thomas is relatively capable in the league. The Wizards had a stronger rotation Linoop, so Kenyan chose to adjust the rotation to deal with it, letting Kobe and Butler continue to play in the second quarter, paired with Vujasic, Brian Cook and Brian Grant. Vujasic and Cook were two fixed turrets outside the three-point line to contain the Wizards' perimeter defense. Kobe played a more distracting role on the offensive end, and his main focus was on strangling Larry Hughes on the defensive end. The Lakers' main attack point at this stage was on Karen Butler. Facing Dixon, who was not as tall, heavy, and strong as himself, Butler made consecutive shots and led the team to a 9:2 round, widening the score difference to double digits. Originally, he wanted to use the advantage of the team's bench Linoop to tie or even surpass, but Kenyan didn't expect that he didn't follow the martial arts ethics and continued to play with the main Linoop. In addition, Larry Hughes, the main attack point of his team, was stubborn and missed Kobe's singles in a row, causing the team to fall into a great passive situation. Eddie Jordan called a timeout in time, adjusted the Linoop, and replaced Arenas. Blake, who was substituted off the court, looked a little lonely, with Arenas above him, and the head coach's basketball philosophy not suitable for him to play. Blake's current situation is really not good. The Wizards replaced Arenas to strengthen the offense, while the Lakers retreat and replace Kobe with Atkins. This period of time is the most difficult time for the Lakers. Atkins, who came on the court, also brought the head coach's defensive arrangement. Arenas and Larry Hughes, who will double team who can appropriately let Kwame Brown outside the 3-second zone. If Brown gets the ball in the 3-second zone, he will definitely foul and send him to the free throw line. Relying on the backcourt combination of Atkins and Vujasic to defend Arenas and Larry Hughes is tantamount to hitting a rock with an egg. Kenyan's strategy can only be to slow down the Wizards' offensive edge through this somewhat extreme tactic, so that the main players can get more rest time. He also took advantage of Kwame Brown's free throw rate of only 56%. If Eddie Jordan had replaced Jamison at this time and had tried his best to close a gap, Kenyan would have been helpless, no matter how good he was. But Eddie Jordan was conservative at this time, allowing Kenyan's strategy to take shape. The Lakers bought rest time for their main players by sending the opponent to the free throw line. Arenas and Kwame Brown made 6 of 10 free throws, narrowing the gap to 9 points and entering the official timeout. After the timeout, the Lakers' main Linoop returned to the court, still using the strange formation at the beginning. Eddie Jordan insisted on keeping the same in the face of changes and kept Haywood on the court. The Lakers' offense outside the penalty area always had an advantage in numbers. At the same time, compared with the first quarter, Kellyanne made adjustments on the defensive end. Odom helped more with double teaming, limiting the Wizards' outside offense and leaving Hayward empty. Kellyanne's further adjustments magnified the team's mobility advantage and effectively limited the Wizards' outside offense. Although Hayward could find opportunities from time to time and score at the basket, his output could not offset the Wizards' reduced offensive efficiency under the pressure of the Lakers. What's more terrible is that he is completely ineffective on the defensive end. If a player with a weak offensive effect loses his effect on the defensive end, it can be said that he has completely lost his value in the game. Eddie Jordan was unable to cope with the changes of the Lakers. He wanted to replace Hayward, but was afraid that the defense in the restricted area would be out of control. After all, the Wizards did not seem to have the capital to play with the Lakers with 1 big and 4 small. The score difference quickly widened during Eddie Jordan's hesitation. At the end of the first half, the Lakers were already leading by 23 points, basically establishing the winning trend. During the halftime break, Wilson, the commentator of Warner, also commented on the game. The Lakers' small lineup made it very difficult for the Wizards to cope with it. What made Wizards fans more desperate than the 23-point difference was that Eddie Jordan seemed to have no way to deal with it. Kimby seemed to have no obstacles to winning 2 consecutive games since he took office. I wonder if the Lakers management regretted not letting Kimby fill in the position as soon as Rudy was absent so that the Lakers could win one more game before. Kellyanne is still in the Lakers, and Jerry Buss's small mistake at least has a chance to make up for it. The Hawks management should feel more regretful. If they didn't care about Stotz's face, if they didn't mind Kellyanne's age, if they could be bolder, maybe the hope brought by Kellyanne would belong to the Hawks. In the second half, Eddie Jordan finally made a change, removing Hayward and putting Dixon in the starting lineup to keep up with the Lakers 1 big and 4 small. This change came a little slowly, and the effect was not very good. Jamison is not really suitable to guard the restricted area alone. His defense is not very good, and Eddie Jordan did not do any targeted protection for him. Not only did he magnify his weaknesses, but he also affected his offense. The Lakers took advantage of the victory and further widened the score difference. By the end of the third quarter, the score difference had widened to 30 plus, and many fans of the Wizards had already left the court early. The overall situation was decided, and Kellyanne withdrew all the main players in the fourth quarter. Kobe, who scored 37 points in 3 quarters, was very satisfied with the data. He was happy to sit on the bench in the fourth quarter to watch his teammates' performances. He even showed a long-lost smile when chatting with his teammates, which was not seen in the past 2 seasons. 116:92. The Lakers won a big away game. When the final whistle sounded, Kellyanne took the initiative to walk towards Eddie Jordan, hugged him and greeted him, and then ran back to the visiting team's locker room in joy. Chapter 68 Trading Ideas. After 2 consecutive wins, the Lakers' record is 24-12, still in 5th place in the West. The Supersonics have firmly occupied the top 4 in the West with their division advantage. If the team wants to squeeze into the upper half, the only target is the Dallas Mavericks. The team is currently 2 wins behind the Mavericks, and it is not easy to catch up. Because the Lakers have lost 2 consecutive card battles, they have been caught up by the Rockets behind them. And behind them, the Kings, Nuggets, Timberwolves, and Grizzlies are not easy to deal with. The pressure on the Lakers is still great. After a day of rest, the Lakers will face the strong enemy Spurs at home. Before that, Kupchak found Kellyanne and asked him if there are any positions that need to be strengthened and any players he likes, and he can try to contact them. Kellyanne has a good record in leading the team. Anderson and Barnes, the bottom players who were previously advocated for introduction, have also performed well in the team, which has won him a certain trust from Kupchak. In addition, Kellyanne was promoted to the position of head coach by Kupchak and Jim Buss, so Kupchak was more willing to help Kellyanne improve the team's performance within a reasonable range. The higher the performance of Kellyanne, the more important Kupchak and Jim Buss say in front of Jerry Buss. Eddie House, who was just cut by the Bucks, I can use this person. Please help me sign him. He is at least much better than Terry Brown as a backup point guard. A mere backup point guard with a minimum salary, without any chips, is easy for Kupchak. Okay, I'll contact his agent. It's not a big problem. But, can a guard who was just cut by the Bucks help the Lakers? Kupchak's eyes showed some doubts. Killian smiled and gave his own opinion. If the tactics are appropriate, he is no worse than Damon Jones of the Heat. I have confidence. On the basis of ensuring the health of the team, I have the confidence to lead the team into the playoffs. But if we want to go further, the team really needs an inside attack point. Killian is not pessimistic. The strength of the Mavericks, Spurs, and Suns is a level higher than other opponents in the West. The Lakers have little chance of winning against these three opponents with the current lineup. Even if they are lucky enough to play against the Supersonics, it will be a 50-50 chance at best. The Kings may not be willing to give us Webber. Kupchak shook his head and rejected Killian's selection. The conflict between Webber, Bibby, and PJ has affected the Kings' performance. The management will definitely make changes before the trading deadline. Webber, who is the oldest, has injury risks, and has the highest salary, is of course the easiest to become the Kings' trading target. However, if the Kings are not crazy, they will send Webber to the East instead of leaving him to their old rival, the Lakers. But I think our chips are the best. Killian looked at Kupchak and said. Killian's meaning is very clear. As a head coach, he thinks it is worthwhile to give up Odom's potential and comprehensiveness to bet on Webber's combat effectiveness, coordination ability and high post offensive ability. Historically, Webber's performance with Iverson after going to the 76ers was not good, which made people feel that he was old. However, after breaking up with the 76ers, Webber joined the Pistons and had a flash of brilliance at the end of his career. He improved the Pistons' offense like a catalyst and made the Pistons play the most gorgeous basketball in many years. The reason why Webber suffered a Waterloo in the 76ers is probably related to Iverson's style of play. There is basically no such thing as high post coordination around Iverson. Webber's role is more of a space-type inside player. He shoots and catches the ball. It would be a miracle if he could play well. Kobe and Iverson, who is more paranoid about personal offense, is hard to say, but who is more compatible with the inside line is probably not worth discussing. Kobe Bryant attaches more importance to shooting rights and does not like to play pick and roll, but he is not so responsible for ball possession and is willing to run without the ball. In theory, the combination of Kobe Bryant and Webber can be tried. Killian's idea is very good, but as the general manager, Kupchak needs to consider more things. Odom is in the team's long-term plan. Unless he is an all-star or quasi-all-star player in his playing year, the Lakers will not trade him. To put it bluntly, Odom's ranking in the Lakers is higher than Killian. Plan A was rejected. Killian pursed his lips and proposed alternative plans. David West of the Hornets and Boris Diaw of the Hawks. Both of them are sophomores who have not played well. Their trading value is not very high. The Lakers still have hope to get them without losing core players and future draft picks. Killian was not in a very good mood when he walked out of Kupchak's office. Although he successfully became the head coach and his performance at the beginning seemed to be good, his voice was still very limited. Lead the team to train, play games, sign some low-level players, and make some insignificant small transactions without touching the team's core players and future draft picks. Once Killian stepped over the line, all the replies he got were no. Perhaps his current achievements only deserve this kind of voice, but it is inevitable that there will still be some disappointment. Killian he looked up suddenly, and Wang Liffen, with smiling eyes, came into his sight. Killian was a little stunned, shook his head, and asked stupidly, "Why are you here?" Wang Liffen's face immediately turned from sunny to cloudy, and his brows were slightly frowned. "Come back to school." The tone was obviously a little unhappy. Realizing that he had said the wrong thing, Killian immediately waved his hand to apologize. "Sorry, at work. Not going well." Although he is a student who has not yet stepped out of the ivory tower, Wang Liffen also knows that the more glorious the job, the greater the pressure. "Well, let's not talk about this anymore. Let's go eat together." To celebrate your return, Killian naturally took Wang Liffen's hand and walked out. "Wait a minute." Wang Liffen held Killian. "I have prepared a gift for you." Finally looking a bit like a girlfriend, Killian was in a good mood. Looking at Wang Liffen, Wang Liffen let go of Killian's hand, picked up a large box from the ground, and handed it to Killian. 2 pots of flowers I cultivated myself. Put them in your office to improve your vision. I haven't given you flowers yet. Kellyanne said depressedly, opened the box, and there were 2 pots of hydrangeas inside, one reddish and one lavender. Thank you. After putting the hydrangea in the office, Wang Lifan specifically reminded, there are a few iron nails stuck in the red pot, don't pull them out. For the lavender pot, remember to spray it with soapy water. Is there anything special? When you guess it, I'll give you a reward. Wang Lifan threw a wink, and Kellyanne's index finger moved. He hugged Wang Lifan in the office, and leaned his head over. Wang Lifan still pressed his index finger against his lips. You haven't won 3 consecutive games yet. Scientist, damn, you have to win 3 consecutive games to kiss your girlfriend. What's even more fucked up is that the opponent is actually the Spurs. The protagonist proposed the idea of replacing Odom with Webber for 3 reasons. One is to improve the team's combat effectiveness, strive for better results, and increase personal reputation. The second is that he is a little disappointed with Odom and doesn't think much of him. In fact, everyone knows the results of the combination of Kobe plus Odom. The third is to improve his understanding of the organizing and sideline. The scientist is not a full-level account in the book. He needs to upgrade slowly and integrate the ideas of many famous coaches to form his own set of things. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69, Sports Car in Good Times, Buddha in Bad Times. After coming to the Lakers, Kellyanne improved the Lakers in many ways. He activated Butler and made him a stable second scoring point next to Kobe. He advocated the introduction of Anderson to strengthen the team's weakest rebounding. He transformed the team's offensive system, allowing Kobe to achieve the best balance between individual singles and leading the team. But no matter how good he is, what cannot be changed is the problem of the Lakers' lineup structure. The inside lacks an offensive core, and Odom can only be promoted to the outside or the free throw line to launch an attack. The team's inside defense is also weak. In addition to the round robin plus shark cutting tactics that exhausted O'Neal, which is a highlight, other all-star level inside players can always play data above the season average when facing the Lakers. And the Duncan faced in this game is more terrifying than Gasol, O'Neal, and Stoudemire. This made Kellyanne's brains hurt in arranging the troops. In addition to the extremely stable starting 4, the Spurs also have Brent Berry, Robert Holly, Devin Brown, Udry and other players sitting on the bench. These people can not only help the main players to transition well, but also can timely fill in when the main players are in trouble. Popovich's construction of the substitute lineup is also the best in the league. When playing against the Wizards, they can use a small lineup to catch the opponent off guard. Against the Spurs, Kellyanne did not dare to commit suicide and honestly put Diop in the starting lineup to at least limit Duncan's low post singles. In the name of a power forward, he is actually a center. Duncan won the jump ball, but facing the flying basketball, Parker was not focused, or he had not entered the game state at the beginning. The backcourt control was not stable, and Atkins directly intercepted it, and the latter easily scored a layup. Popovich was expressionless on the sidelines. The more he was like this, the more nervous Parker was. The Spurs served the ball, and the Lakers pressed the whole court. The aggressive defensive posture made Parker step on the spot and almost cross the half court. Kellyanne's idea was to put enough pressure on the Spurs from the beginning, so that they had no time to dawdle. This way, the Spurs would speed up and leave their comfortable rhythm. After several passes, Ginobili found an empty space and passed the ball to Parker, who was running back along the baseline. The latter threw the ball into the basket with a backhand throw. Everything seemed very easy. The Spurs are not only strong because of Duncan, and Duncan's strength is not limited to singles. Looking back, Duncan helped in the defense, interfered with Butler's layup, and steadily took the rebound and handed it to Parker. The sports car rushed all the way to the front court, found that there was no chance, and then went around and dribbled out again and handed the ball to Ginobili, who did not stop the ball and directly hit the ground to break through the Lakers defense. Duncan took a step inside the free throw line to receive the ball and face Diop, but did not give the latter a chance to jump and directly put the ball into the basket. The Lakers attacked. After several passes, Kobe rushed into the paint, attracted two defenders, bounced the ball off the ground, and passed it to Odom next to him. The latter did not hesitate at all and jumped up to shoot. A hand flew in front of him, disrupting Odom's shot. Ginobili retreated to the basket and blocked Kobe behind him, took the front court rebound, and made a gesture to control the rhythm of the game. Ginobili passed half court. Duncan pulled to the wing to set a pick and roll for him. After Ginobili got rid of Kobe's defense, he came to the right alone and watched Odom, who was defending, change direction and rush into the paint from the baseline. When he stepped into the 3-second zone, he suddenly jumped up and stayed in the air for a while. When Diop in the paint jumped up to block the shot and his body fell down, he flicked the basketball in his hand with one hand and hit the basket. Although he does not have strong explosive power, and the visual effect is not as explosive as Wade, Ginobili's breakthrough after the pick and roll is still sharp. His joints seem to be able to twist at will, allowing him to bypass the defender from any side, and his soft touch allows him to send the ball to the basket in various body postures. Ginobili played this ball very beautifully, and he was also the only ornamental player in the Spurs team. The Lakers attacked, and all players pulled away. Kobe singled out Ginobili in the low post. After 2 hits, he turned around and made a backward jump shot. Bang! Duncan stably grabbed the rebound and sent a long pass at the first time. Inadvertently, Parker had already run ahead of everyone and easily scored a layup after receiving the ball. 2:8. The Spurs offense combined fast and slow and took the lead in the score at the beginning. Kellyan did not call a timeout. After the opening, the Lakers basically played according to their own tactics on the offensive end. In this case, he chose to believe in the players' ability to adjust. Kobe received the ball on the wing, facing Bowen's defense, and turned sideways to rush to the opponent's right side. Bowen blocked his position immediately, and Kobe turned around immediately, then jumped up and raised his hand to shoot. The ball almost reached the basket without an arc. Puff! The ball rubbed through the net with strong friction, making a quick sound. In this game, the Lakers needed Kobe singles to change the Spurs' defensive formation. The Spurs attacked. Parker and Duncan played pick and roll. Atkins was blocked by Duncan. Diop followed Kellyan's arrangement and stepped back to give Parker space to shoot a long 2-pointer. Parker, who has always been unstable in long-range shooting, raised his hand and hit it. 4-10. Once Parker shoots, he can really kill, but with only this defensive resource in hand, Kellyan can only choose the lesser of two evils. If he lets Parker break into the basket, the possibility of losing points is greater. After the opening, Parker's shooting touch was excellent, helping the Spurs to easily expand the score difference to double digits, and this was based on Duncan not attacking from the low post. The Lakers had a hard time dealing with the situation, with Kobe playing the entire first quarter and hitting a buzzer-beating 3-pointer at the last moment. The Lakers were able to narrow the gap to 9 points. 22-31. During the intermission, Kellyan criticized Odom for his poor performance in the first quarter. Diop took on the task of defending Duncan and was mainly responsible for dealing with Nestorovic on the defensive end. Odom should have enough energy to devote to the offensive end, but he not only did not score a single point, but also only took 2 shots, which was obviously not worthy of his position as the second in command. After being scolded by Kellyan, Odom learned from his shame and became brave in the second quarter. He first gave Ginobili a big cap on the defensive end, then hit a 3-pointer at the top of the arc, and then hit a mid-range shot at the free throw line. Odom hit consecutively from mid-range and long-range distances, once stopping the Spurs and forcing the Spurs to change their defensive formation. As the 2 top defensive teams in the league, the Pistons' defense is more taboo against breakthrough madness like Wade and James, while the Spurs system has no way to deal with superstars who are good at shooting. Odom suddenly switched his state and formed an echo with Kobe, and the Lakers' offense immediately came alive. Popovich's adjustment was also timely. Robert Horry came on the court and replaced Nestorovic. Duncan directly pushed to the center position. Horry's presence opened up the Lakers' defensive formation. Duncan singled out Diop in the interior, not simply relying on strength, but shaking off Diop's big hand with his footwork, and easily scoring on the rebound. In good times, the sports car is bad. The Lakers began to fight back, and Duncan immediately stood up. Chapter 70, Battle of Wisdom, Courage, and Law. The Lakers were attacking. Atkins passed the ball across half court. Kellyan blew a whistle on the sidelines. Atkins immediately understood and passed the ball to Odom. Odom shook, desperately cut into the inside, pressed Duncan, and suddenly passed the ball out again. Atkins caught the ball without pausing, opened his hand, and passed it to Kobe standing outside the left 3-point line. Kobe ran 2 steps outside, caught the ball, turned around, and then strode to the bottom line. Bowen followed closely behind and entered the inside. Kobe turned his back and pretended to turn over and jump shot, attracting Bowen to focus on defense, and then turned around again, passed Bowen cleanly, and shot easily. This round of offense and defense is also a portrayal of the careers of 2 historical superstars. Duncan's practicality and reliability, Kobe's gorgeousness and facing challenges are all reflected in their respective offensive rounds. The Spurs attacked. Diop defended in the paint. Odom retreated to double team. Duncan completed most of the offensive moves and then passed the ball to Horry, creating an open 3-point opportunity. The Lakers' defensive rotation followed. Horry passed the ball to Ginobili, then Parker. The Spurs pass was smooth, and when Bowen received the ball in the bottom corner, the Lakers' rotation was completely unable to keep up, and they watched the opponent hit a 3-pointer. In fact, at this stage, the Spurs' offensive routines were not as rich as they were later. In addition to Parker and Duncan's pick and roll, and Ginobili's flash of inspiration in singles, most of the time it was Duncan's single point blasting, attracting double teaming, and mechanically passing the ball, which was not very ornamental, but everyone played their own role in this set of tactics, which was terrible. Especially they had a perfect core player, Duncan. The existence of the Stone Buddha allows teammates to do what he is best at and leave the rest to him. From this perspective, Duncan is the best leader. Of course, Duncan's playing is not good looking, so his popularity is not high. Even Kobe after the handsome incident is more talked about than Duncan. The Lakers attacked. Kobe made a change, played pick and roll with Odom, attracted double teaming and passed the ball to Odom, who missed the mid-range shot under interference. In the scramble for the rebound, Parker got the basketball before Atkins, advanced quickly, and scored the ball against Butler's defense, causing Butler to foul, and widened the score difference to double digits again. The Lakers made a mistake once, and it can't even be said to be a mistake, but the offense didn't score. The Spurs can make the Lakers pay the price immediately. This is a terrifying part of the Spurs. Odom dribbled directly across half court. Kobe came up from the bottom corner to ask for the ball. Odom pretended to pass the ball, accelerated suddenly, and attacked the Spurs inside line. Duncan made up for the position, and Odom threw the ball to Diop, who was knocked to the ground by Ginobili. After receiving the ball, Odom's cut was very beautiful this time, and it was also important to pass the ball to Duncan in time. However, the result of this ball was not very good. The Spurs fouled Diop, defusing the Lakers' attack at the lowest cost. Diop missed 2 free throws, adding a turnover to the technical statistics, and also made the Lakers fans miss Anderson even more. If it was Birdman, the attack just now should have ended with an empty reception. Ginobili made a mid-range shot, and the score difference widened to 13 points. Kellyan called a timeout to rearrange the tactics. Chucky passes half court. Desagina and Lama stand at the left and right elbows respectively. Chucky hands the ball to Lama and then immediately walks in the opposite direction of Lama. Kobe goes from the baseline to the top line, and Desagina comes to help with an off-ball screen, forming a switch. Before the switch, Lama immediately passes the ball to Kobe outside the 3-point line and shoots directly when there is a chance. If the opponent switches defense or assists in defense, you can choose to break through or run back to attract some defenders. At this time, Chucky in the bottom corner will definitely have another open opportunity. Kellyan gestured on the tactical board, arranging a relatively complex offensive tactic. This is a combination of Kellyan's horn tactics and flair, which requires big players to have a certain passing awareness and running ability, and the outside guards can accurately hit 3-pointers. It is very useful for teams without top outside help defenders. For me, the Cavaliers and the Wizards are not the targets I want to benchmark against. The Spurs are my touchstone. I hope everyone can prove that I can lead the Lakers to play against top teams. Thank you. Killian's tone was very calm, and he even told the players his request in a pleading tone. For him, the Spurs are indeed a very strong opponent. Back on the court, the players followed Killian's tactical design and really avoided Duncan's defensive focus. Duncan is undoubtedly a DPOY level defender, but he has never been a player like Garnett and Ben who covers half the court. His switching ability and big defense against small are not top notch. This is also the reason why the Spurs are easily restrained by shooting guards. Kobe found an opportunity to play small against big through the off-ball pick and roll with Diop. A sudden stop and change of direction shook Duncan's center of gravity, and he easily broke into the basket and sent the ball into the basket. The Spurs attacked. Odom directly fouled Bowen, an extension of the cut sharp tactic, the cut Bowen tactic. Normally, a player who can shoot 3-pointers accurately will also shoot free throws well. But Bowen has a 39.3% 3-point shooting rate this season, but his free throw shooting rate is only 57.5%. He is a standard 3D player who can only shoot 3-pointers and defend, and even his free throw shooting is below standard. Bowen made 1 of 2 free throws, which was an acceptable result for both sides. However, after the Lakers hit a mid-range shot by Odom again, the team cut Bowen on the defensive end for the second consecutive round, which made Popovich frown. From cutting Shark to cutting Howard, the baby coach in front of us is impressive in his use of foul tactics. The past 2 times all directly affected the outcome of the game and eventually won. Will this happen today? Bowen missed a free throw, and Killian saw hope and replaced Diop with Brian Cook. While increasing the offensive threat, he directly replaced cannon fodder to cut Bowen, which was equivalent to giving Popovich the choice to either replace Bowen or pray for Bowen's free throws. This is also a reflection of the team's offensive efficiency. Everyone knows that the foul tactic is aimed at disrupting the opponent's offensive rhythm, but the premise is to ensure your own offense. If you can't score on your side, the psychological pressure on the opponent who is being hacked will be much less, and the hit rate will also increase. Amid the interference of the home fans, Bowen missed the second free throw. The Lakers attacked. Odom and Brian Cook mentioned the line at the same time to do double screens. Kobe took the opportunity to break into the basket, attracted the defense, and then passed the ball. Butler hit the line and scored 2 points, narrowing the score difference to 8 points. This time, Popovich did not give the Lakers the opportunity to continue to foul and directly called a timeout. Although it was an opponent, Killian had to admit that he was rude and responded appropriately. After the timeout, the Spurs replaced Parker with Brent Berry, but did not replace Bowen, as if to taunt the Lakers. Come over here. Cook was not polite and directly fouled Bowen. The team's interior defense at this time is equivalent to giving points to Duncan, and it is difficult to get off the Tiger, so it has to be hacked. During the timeout, Popovich gave Bowen psychological counseling. This time he made both free throws, bringing his hit rate back to 50% and the score difference back to 10 points. This game is interesting. Chapter 71 Controversial Foul. After paying the price of multiple fouls against Bowen and improving their efficiency on the offensive end, the Lakers narrowed the gap to 6 points before the end of the half. Killian's adjustments have begun to show results, but the situation is still unfavorable to the Lakers. The team scored consecutively on the offensive end, but Popovich will definitely find a way to deal with it in the second half. The key is that the Lakers offense can only be launched from the outside, which is too monotonous and depends too much on Kobe and Butler's touch. Duncan guards the restricted area alone, and the Lakers can't get the ball to the inside. In turn, Duncan can also suppress the Lakers inside on the offensive end, which makes Killian even more headache. After playing against various inside players, it can be said that Duncan is the one who makes Killian feel the most powerless, surpassing O'Neal. In the Spurs locker room, what Killian didn't know was that Popovich also kept swearing for Killian's strategy, which was also a recognition of Killian. After all, no one will get angry for an object that is not threatening. Duncan put Kellyanne under great pressure, and Kobe also made the Spurs helpless. This is also a black mamba that can really bite people to death. After the halftime break, the starting lineups of both sides returned to the court. The Lakers served the ball in the first half. Parker led the defense of Atkins throughout the court, putting a lot of pressure on him. Kobe responded in time, and Bowen's defensive pressure also went up a level. The Spurs' defensive intensity suddenly increased, catching the Lakers off guard. Kobe took 2 steps forward, encountered double teaming and passed the ball, which was intercepted by Ginobili. Butler fouled immediately to prevent the Spurs from making a fast break, which was a wise choice. However, in the next round of offense, Ginobili turned Butler's foul into a nightmare. He suddenly braked back during the breakthrough and was hit by Butler, who was defending. The referee whistled Butler for a foul again. This was Butler's 4th foul. Less than 30 seconds into the second half, the team's second offensive point was fouled twice in a row, which made Kellyanne very dissatisfied. Especially for this second foul, this kind of sudden backbreaking. Kellyanne only saw it in 3 young later. How can the players defend from behind after this call? Kellyanne argued with the referee to no avail, so he had to replace Butler with Barnes, and at the same time, conveyed his own arrangement. Odom came back to support Atkins, and the offensive end went inside to shoot 2. The referee might whistle a little tighter at this time, and it would be great to be able to hurt Duncan. I don't know if Kellyanne's arrangement affected Odom's thoughts. Ginobili missed the free throw. Odom actually lost the backcourt rebound, and Duncan grabbed the front court rebound and scored the ball. Kobe made a mistake. Butler got 2 consecutive fouls. Odom lost the backcourt rebound. The core players of the Lakers kept doing things, and Kellyanne was speechless. Without Butler, Barnes could only stand in the bottom corner on the offensive end. The Spurs defense deliberately put further pressure on Kobe. They unscrupulously restricted Odom's passing, double-teamed Kobe, and used their own defensive rotation to help the Lakers smooth ball transfers in vain, hindering the Lakers' offense. The score difference was pulled to 15 points in the first half of the third quarter. In the predicament, Kellyanne replaced Butler, who had 4 fouls, in advance to make a last-ditch effort. Unfortunately, the game had entered the familiar boiling frog in warm water mode of the Spurs. Duncan made Kellyanne feel like a fishbone stuck in his throat on both offense and defense. Whenever the Lakers saw a point in the Spurs' defensive system that could be used, they would immediately find that Duncan blocked this point. In a game, a player generally does not hold the ball for more than 12 minutes, and the 36 minutes without the ball in hand determines what kind of player he is. This is a sentence Kellyanne learned in school. Duncan's performance in this game is the best interpretation of this sentence. In the fourth quarter, Kellyanne made several adjustments, but still couldn't fly out of Popovich's 5 fingers mountain or offset Duncan's suppression of the Lakers, so he could only accept the first defeat in his coaching career. 91-103. The Lakers lost at home, the second time this season to the Spurs. Popovich shook hands with Kellyanne and expressed his appreciation to Kellyanne. Both sides understand that the Spurs' victory is more about the team's huge advantage on paper. If Kellyanne really had Popovich's hand, it would be clear who would win. In the locker room, Kellyanne also comforted his players, but it seems that he should be the one to be comforted. In the locker room, including Kobe, no one felt much about losing to the Spurs. Perhaps this is where the rookie coach doesn't have a good grasp of the players' psychology. For the players, losing is no longer a depressing thing, even for players like Kobe who have a strong desire to survive. This is not difficult to understand. Even a strong team will lose 20 or 30 games in a season. If they lose one game, they will be depressed. Usually, only rookies who have just entered the league will feel a little regretful about losing, or if they are defeated at the last moment of the game, some people may find it difficult to accept. An ordinary loss is nothing. Kellyanne was in a bad mood after the first defeat in his coaching career. The media repeatedly asked him about this issue, which made Kellyanne's tone more and more unhappy. Do you expect me to not lose in my entire coaching career? Or do you hope that the Lakers can get a regular season record of 70 wins and 12 losses? The reason for our team's defeat. We ourselves accounted for 90% of the factors, but I'm not shirking the blame. I was speechless about Manu's foul on Karen at the beginning of the third quarter. Karen did violate Manu's shot, but Manu's shooting action was not normal at all. If the league maintains this standard of whistling, I can turn the game into a free throw battle. Kellyanne said at the press conference that Ginobili's backbreak foul changed the game, and also made the media and fans notice this action and analyze it. From the video from all angles, it is not difficult to see that Ginobili's ball was aimed at fouling. Karen Butler did foul, this is certain. The problem lies in the way Ginobili fouled. Spurs fans believe that reasonable use of rules is part of basketball. If you have the ability, don't commit fouls. Lakers fans retorted, everyone can commit fouls. If you do this, just let the free throws decide the outcome. Spurs fans replied, Kami didn't turn the game into a free throw contest. Lakers fans retorted, was Popovich vague when he fouled O'Neal? Fans on both sides held their own opinions and started to criticize each other on the forum. The impact was great, and the league also stepped in to take action. Kellyanne received a $5,000 fine for making inappropriate remarks about the penalty. In all honesty, Kellyanne said at the press conference that it was indeed a foul, but the action to obtain the foul was an abnormal action, which was clearly directed at Ginobili. As a result, the league identified the problem and issued him a fine. Kellyanne felt very wronged. Fortunately, the owner Jerry Buss stepped in and helped him claim the fine, which prevented Kellyanne from losing not only the game but also money. It was after this incident that Kellyanne applied to Jerry Buss for a supplementary assistant coaching team. Chapter 72 Choosing Kian means believing in science. At the beginning of the season, the Lakers coaching team mainly consisted of 4 people. In addition to head coach Tom Janovich, the 3 assistant coaches were Hamblin, Brian Shaw, and Kellyanne, who were in charge of different projects of the team. Hamblin was mainly responsible for pre-match preparation and basic training of the team. Brian Shaw was responsible for shooting training and personnel inspection. Kellyanne was responsible for offensive tactical design and tactical training, and took over some on-the-spot dispatching tasks in the middle of the season. A head coach is paired with 3 assistant coaches, and everyone has their own duties. Even if Kellyanne and Brian Shaw had some minor frictions, they didn't take it to heart, and they cooperated well with each other. Now, Tom Janovich has retreated from coach to consultant, basically just in name only. There are only 3 people left in the coaching team. Kellyanne has been promoted to the position of head coach and has more tasks and more pressure, but he lacks someone who played his role before to correct some of his problems. There is no second voice in tactics, which is not a good thing for the team. On the other hand, Kellyanne needs an assistant who can smooth the relationship between the coaching team and the players and help express some of his ideas to the players more gently. Therefore, the assistant he hopes to get is one with player experience, preferably one who has played under a famous coach and can bring different offensive routines to the team. This request is not excessive, and Kupchak agreed on behalf of Buss. Do you want us to help you recruit, or do you have your own candidates? Kellyanne has no experience playing in the United States, and he has been a head coach for a short time. Normal people would not think that he has any connections to recruit people. I have 2 candidates, and you may need to contact them to see if they are willing to cooperate with me. Kellyanne said, if neither of them is willing, I will think of other candidates. Jeff Hornacek, a Jazz legend, is excellent in off-ball running, accurate shooting, humble personality, and good passing skills. He has been honed for many years under Sloan's pick and roll system, and should be able to put forward some of his own ideas on the offensive end. His daughter Abby Hornacek is very beautiful, and he can gain a lot of sons-in-law wherever he coaches. Off topic. Monty Williams has been a marginal figure in the NBA for a long time, but he has stayed in the league for 9 years despite his average ability. He couldn't have done it without some popularity. For Kellyanne, an assistant coach with high emotional intelligence can play a big role. He doesn't have a beautiful daughter, so he is ranked behind Hornacek. The 2 people Kellyanne chose are both people who can become head coaches in the NBA in the future. They should have the ability and potential. Because it is in the middle of the season, the team cannot directly pry players from other teams, which is not good for breaking the rules. The 2 candidates given by Kellyanne are currently unemployed, and there should be hope if they are contacted. Okay, I'll find a way to get at least one. Kupchak promised impatiently. It seems that I have just heard this not long ago. Kellyanne remembered and asked, by the way, how are Boris Dio and David West doing? Are there any talks? Kupchak shook his head and said, the other party does not agree to the trade. Why don't you consider others? Kellyanne was speechless. He couldn't get Dio and West. The Hornets sent away Byron Davis, and it is obvious that they want to rebuild around young people. Unless it is a very good bargaining chip, they are not prepared to trade any young people. The Hawks directly rejected our request to trade Dio and said that they would not trade anything. Kupchak directly informed Kellyanne of the details of his trade negotiations. This is also the treatment that Kellyanne could not get when he was an assistant coach. He himself felt strange. A month ago, when he was negotiating the Dio trade with the Hawks asked for Luke Walton, but he refused. This time, he raised the price to Walton plus a second round pick, but the Hawks refused. If you don't know, you might think that Dio has played well this month. After checking the data, he still looks half dead. Kellyanne was speechless about Kupchak's workability, but he didn't know that the reason why the Hawks refused to trade was actually himself. After he took over the job of head coach of the Lakers, he did a pretty good job. On the Hawks side, the owner-wrestler regretted not inviting him directly immediately. After learning that he was still the acting head coach of the Lakers, he decisively listed him in the list of candidates for head coach next season. Kellyanne likes to use the inside line to pull to the high position to assist. The Lakers came to discuss the trade of Dio twice, which made the Hawks general manager Sander feel that Dio was his choice. So, in order to increase the team's attractiveness to Kellyanne, the Hawks are not going to trade Dio. Fortunately, there was no accident in the signing of Eddie House. Otherwise, Kellyanne really had to have a good talk with Jerry Buss. He took time to have a date with Wang Liffen for dinner. Because he did not complete the 3-game winning streak, Kellyanne had no reason to go further. Fortunately, Wang Liffen was reasonable and said directly that the promise of reward for 3 consecutive wins is still valid, which rekindled Kellyanne's fighting spirit. On January 11th, the Lakers visited Memphis to challenge the Memphis Grizzlies. For the Lakers, this was a tough battle. It was still the old problem. When the team faced a technically comprehensive inside player, the inside player was always beaten. Diop had no way to deal with Gasol's softness. He was hooked by the opponent in the low post, pulled to the mid-range to hit a mid-range shot, grabbed the front court rebound to complete the tip-in, and scored 2+1. In short, Gasol was very lethal against the 2 inside players of the Lakers. In addition, Mike Miller restricted Kobe, who made 9 of 23 shots in the game and only scored 21 points. The Grizzlies completely took the initiative in the game. Fortunately, Butler's offensive touch in this game was explosive. Facing the slightly thin Battier, Butler gave himself the Anthony experience card and scored consecutive singles, helping the team to keep the score difference within 10 points in the first 3 quarters, and waited for Eddie House's Divine Soldiers to descend and Kobe's King to return. In the last quarter, Eddie House, who had just joined the team, made 2 3-pointers in a single quarter. The appearance of this X-Factor completely disrupted the arrangement of Hubie Brown, the head coach of the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies had no idea where the Lakers found such a small point guard with a shooting speed as fast as lightning. Kobe, who was sleepwalking throughout the game, found his touch at the last moment of the game and made 2 of 3 shots at the critical moment, dragging the game into overtime. In overtime, both sides started a defensive battle. Gasol's softness was perfectly reflected in the overtime. The former had his way with the Lakers inside line in the 48-minute game, but he stopped in overtime. Although Kobe was still iron, he still used his offensive influence to contain the Grizzlies' defense at the critical moment, sent a desperate pass, assisted Butler to hit the key 3-pointer, and harvested this hard-won victory, 25-13. In the whole game, Butler scored 28 points and 7 rebounds, and was the biggest contributor to the Lakers' victory. Eddie House made 3 3-pointers in his first game after joining the team, and he was so happy that he didn't know what to do. Cool. After seeing Eddie House's performance, Kupchak uttered this word to celebrate his choice of Kellyanne. Choosing Kellyanne means believing in science. Chapter 73. A new storm has emerged. Horacek called me and declined our invitation. He said he had lived in Salt Lake City for many years and his family had adapted to life there. He didn't want to go anywhere else before his daughter went to college. After the game with the Grizzlies, Kupchak told Kellyanne the News, "Most NBA players yearn for big cities like Los Angeles and big teams like the Lakers, but some prefer the quiet and natural life in small cities. It's not necessarily that Hornacek doesn't want to be a coach, but he wants to spend more time with his family. After all, when you are a professional player, you travel all over the country and it's not enough to accompany your family. It's normal to choose to give up some things after retirement. Moreover, the salary Hornacek earned as a player is enough for his family to live a luxurious life if they don't squander it." In Kellyanne's impression, Hornacek didn't come out until around 2009 to join the coaching staff of the Jazz and later went to other teams to serve as head coach. Counting the days, it was almost when a B went to college that he left Salt Lake City. Everyone has their own aspirations. Hornacek chose to be a good father and postpone his career development opportunities for his daughter, and Kellyanne could not force it. He could only pray that there would be no problems with Monty Williams' contact, otherwise no one could stand running into obstacles all day long. After the game with the Grizzlies, the Lakers returned to their home court and lost to the Dallas Mavericks 106-110, suffering their second defeat since Kellyanne took office. Poor performance in the position battle has always been the key to the Lakers' inability to rank higher this season. Since the Suns and Spurs occupy the division championship positions in the Pacific Division and the Southwest Division respectively, the Lakers must defeat the Mavericks if they want to break into the top 4 in the West and have the home advantage in the playoffs. However, in this game, the stronger Mavericks performed more steadily. Although Kobe scored 36 points, surpassing Nowitzki's 27 points, the Mavericks still have Josh Howard, Jason Terry, Michael Finley, and even Dampier, the second center in the West, who got a premium contract, who is stronger than the Lakers in sideline. The Mavericks scored more than 23 pointers, and Dampier grabbed 17 rebounds throughout the game, suppressing the Lakers in sideline. After the game, the Lakers' record came to 25 wins and 14 losses, continuing to rank 5th in the West, and the gap with the Mavericks was widened to 3 games. This result is acceptable to the fans and Kellyanne himself. At least in the current record, there is no possibility of being squeezed out of the top 8 in the West, which is a great success for Kellyanne. This Lakers team in history is very miserable. On January 13th, the Lakers defeated the Utah Jazz 121-77 at home and refused to lose in a row, 26-14. In this game, the Lakers played with amazing defensive intensity, defending every point of the opponent. Odom, who had been beaten by various all-star inside players, faced Boozer in this game. He defended his opponent to 5 of 15 shots and 6 of 6 free throws, scoring only 16 points and 6 rebounds. He finally got a chance to be proud of himself. Arroyo, who led the Puerto Rico team to beat the Dream Team 6th in the Olympics, made 4 of 12 shots and scored 12 points under Kobe's defense, which was also inefficient. On the Lakers side, Kobe continued his 30+ output. Now on the scoring list, Kobe, who averaged 30.2 points per game, is only 0.4 points behind Iverson and still has a chance to challenge the scoring champion. However, with the Lakers' recent decline in performance, he has fallen back to 5th place on the MVP list, which is also a pity. There is no way. MVP needs to be supported by the team's performance. If the individual peak and the team's peak do not overlap, such a tragedy will occur. If Kobe wants to win a more important MVP trophy, he really needs a more important helper. West and Dio are unlikely to come at the moment. Kellyanne needs to consider other candidates. Just as he was looking for candidates, the team doctor came with bad news. Kobe pulled a thigh muscle in training and needed to rest for about 4 weeks. WTF. Kellyanne, who has always been civilized, directly spit out swear words after receiving this news. What is the biggest tragedy for an acting coach? He clearly built a tactical system around the team's tactical core, cultivated tacit understanding, and established a balance, and then he was injured. At the first time, Kellyanne looked at the schedule. It was not known whether it was lucky or unfortunate. Kobe's expected 4-week recovery period included the Denver All-Star Game. He can come back after the All-Star game and lead the team to sprint in the final stage of the regular season. Kobe's injury is a big deal for the Lakers. An hour after the incident, the team management and coaching staff gathered in the office for an emergency meeting to discuss the current situation. Currently, we are 3 games behind the Mavericks and the Supersonics, which is half a season. If we perform well, we can close this gap and catch up with them. But Kobe's injury has a great impact on us. Although I don't want to admit it, I think the team's realistic goal is to ensure a place in the playoffs and then strive for a good position within our capabilities to face the Seattle Supersonics. Killian said straight to the point. His words basically matched everyone's thoughts. With the team's lineup changing dramatically and the only core player injured for a month, it is not an easy achievement to drag the team into the playoffs. As for the talk of playing against the Supersonics, it is more of an excuse. Let everyone accept the decline in the team's record for long-term considerations. We fell down to play against the Supersonics. Kobe, how do you plan to adjust next? Do you need any personnel supplements? After Killian finished speaking, everyone was silent for a while, and Jerry Buss broke the silence first to express his support for Killian. Tactically, I will let Karen Butler play the role of Kobe. He also has strong singles ability and better tactical execution. But in any case, he can't replace Kobe's role, and the vacancy of the team's second scoring point also needs someone to fill. But if you want to trade for such a player, you may need to use the team's future draft picks. Killian looked at Buss and Kupchak and said calmly, at the same time, I will also find a way to make up for it through tactical adjustments. Okay. Kobe, the team is handed over to you. I hope you will continue to surprise us during this period. Jerry Buss was finally unwilling to listen to Killian's proposal and use some valuable assets or future draft picks to strengthen the lineup. He just symbolically encouraged Killian. A trace of unknown loneliness flashed in Killian's eyes, and a sense of sadness of willing to kill the thief, but unable to save the situation, surged in his heart. Whether it was Jerry Buss or Kupchak, perhaps they had never trusted Killian from the bottom of their hearts, so they were not willing to listen to their own advice and use the team's valuable assets for trading. They are afraid that following Killian's advice will cause the team to lose high quality assets, so even if Killian has a good vision and can make full use of Anderson, Barnes, and House, they are unwilling to take this risk. Under other circumstances, Killian can still hold on. But without Kobe, can Killian still hold the situation? Your Majesty, why do you surrender first when we are about to fight to the death? The Lakers in history also missed the playoffs because of Kobe's final injury. However, there are also reasons why Kobe was injured and recovered because of missing the playoffs. Chapter 74, Fast, Accurate, and Ruthless. The only good news for the Lakers is that Monty Williams passed the interview and joined the Lakers coaching staff. However, he has not experienced leveling yet and is far from having the tactical knowledge of the best coach in the future. The probability of helping Killian on the tactical level is not very high. As a player, his greater role is to build a bridge between the coaching staff and the players. Unfortunately, you just arrived when Kobe was injured. I guess your winning rate at the beginning as an assistant coach will not be very high after completing the signing. Killian joked with Monty Williams, but before the end of the season, I hope to at least drag your winning rate to more than 60%. There are still 42 games in the season, and a 60% winning rate means 25 games. If this can be achieved, the Lakers can still win more than 50 games this season. Monty calculated it a little, and still felt it was difficult. I hope it's not my arrival that brings bad luck to the Lakers, Monty Williams said self-deprecatingly, and then went to the team administrator to get the first-hand information of the Lakers this season to prepare for his assistant coaching career. On January 15th, the Lakers played against their city rivals, the Clippers, at home. For the Clippers, the Los Angeles Derby has always been home games are like away games, and away games are like graveyards. In this familiar field, all the fans were cheering for the Lakers, and they couldn't even see fans wearing Clippers uniforms. Before the game, Wang Liffen also asked Killian for 2 tickets, and brought Hebe to watch the Los Angeles Derby. Killian specially wrote down the location of the tickets he gave. Wang Liffen looked at him with a smile as far as his eyes could see. It is estimated that Juan Liffen also calculated that the Clippers' strength was limited and the Lakers could win, so she brought her bestie to see her boyfriend lead the team. The beginning of 2005 was extremely happy for Eddie House. After being cut by the Bucks, he not only found a job as soon as possible, but also found his position in the Lakers and became the team's backup point guard. In his first Los Angeles derby, Eddie House played as a starting player, and everything looked so beautiful. Diop also played as a starter. Brand and Kaman are both inside players known for their low post singles. Diop, a meat shield, can play a big role in this kind of game. The Lakers' strategy for this game is to use the team shooting to deal with the Clippers. At the same time, speed up the game and run Brand and Kaman, the inside pair, to death. Diop won the jump ball. The game started. Butler received the ball and passed it to Atkins. The three of them pulled away. Odom made a screen outside the three-point line in the middle and blocked Livingston. Atkins dribbled on the right side, saw Brand switch defense, turned nimbly to the middle, rushed past Brand, and scored a layup, 2-0. The Clippers attacked. Livingston had a huge height advantage over House. He pushed directly inside with his back. He broke through House's defense with a back turn. After attracting the defense, he easily passed the ball to Kaman, who easily scored a layup. The two short players in the backcourt, House and Atkins, are really a natural loophole on the defensive end, but Livingston, who is tall and has long arms, is not suitable for defending the number one position on the defensive end. In one-on-one situations, he can still rely on the defensive area advantage brought by his body to cover the position, but Kenyan did not arrange for them to hold the ball, but let Odom hold the ball instead. House and Atkins mainly run without the ball, which makes Livingston very uncomfortable. Livingston, who is 205 centimeters tall, has agility attribute that is not as good as Atkins, who is 180 centimeters tall. The Clippers' number 2 Gilts also had difficulty defending House. Atkins used the pick and roll to find an open shot from the outside, but unfortunately the shot failed to hit. Looking back, Livingston continued to carry House with his back to the inside to suppress him. Compared with Atkins, House's static strength is slightly better, but he still couldn't stop Livingston from passing the ball and helping Brand score with a hook shot under the basket. In the Raptors' positional battle, Butler and House opened up on the right. Atkins dribbled the ball across half court and passed it to Odom, who ran to the left corner. Odom made a fake shot in the middle facing Brand's defense, who stepped back. House ran back on the right, got rid of Kittles with Butler's screen, and took a three-pointer at 70 degrees. Bobby Simmons switched defense in time, but House still made a three-pointer, 5-4. Odom and Butler, 2 points that were highly expected during Kobe's injury, did not become the main attack points of the Lakers at the beginning of the game. Instead, two small guards with strong shooting ability frequently shot. Kenyan's operation caught the Clippers off guard. Mike Dunleavy was not prepared at all and had no way to deal with it for a while. Kenyan took advantage of Livingston and Kittle's defensive flaws. Although the Lakers also had no way to deal with Livingston, the lack of Coco Lee's shooting ability made it impossible to give full play to the huge advantage brought by her height. When a player's own offensive threat is not enough, the opponent's defense focuses on his pass, and it will be more difficult for him to send assists. The Clippers continued to grind their positions. Livingston suppressed House and passed the ball. Brand missed the hook shot against Odom. Odom took the opportunity to grab the rebound and pass the ball to counterattack quickly. Atkins got rid of Kittles in a straight line and easily scored a layup, 7-4. The Lakers, who were full of injuries, suppressed the Clippers at the beginning. Dunleavy's face was terribly gloomy. The opponent's tactics were clear, and the Clippers were suppressed by the surprise again. After another 4 minutes, the game entered the first official timeout. The Lakers were already leading by 6 points with 16-10. House and Atkins scored 5 points respectively, which was a surprise. After returning from the timeout, Dunleavy replaced Livingston, who did not attack the short man and did not score a point, with Jackie Jerrick. The Lakers replaced Atkins with Barnes and put Butler at the second position. The game continued. After Jerrick passed half court, he passed the ball to Brand, who was asking for the ball in the low post. The latter immediately defeated Odom and hooked the ball into the basket. In a sense, Brand is the 80-point line of the number 1 pick. Although he is a little short, he is really good at singles in the low post. Basically, he plays the position of power forward with the height of a small forward, but he actually plays like a center. The disadvantage is that his playing style is a bit monotonous, and compared with the more comprehensive inside players, his ability to assist and awareness of passing the ball are relatively average. After House and Odom completed the hand-to-hand cooperation, they passed the ball. Odom returned the favor and made a 45-degree mid-range jump shot from the left. 18-12. This season, some of Odom's mid-range shots have been transferred to the outside line, and he usually does not force shots against people. Brand was a little surprised by this shot. Brand played one-on-one again, relying on Odom to force a turn. He missed the shot under the double team of Odom and Barnes, but Kaman grabbed the rebound and forced Diop to foul the latter in the 3-second zone. Kaman was very smart to cheat the foul, but failed to seize the free throw opportunity and made one of 2 free throws. After Odom grabbed the rebound, he made another quick counter-attack. Barnes had a rare opportunity to attack the basket in the counter-attack, causing Bobby Simmons to foul. Brand and Kaman are both powerful inside players in low post offense, but they are at a disadvantage when running back and forth and moving at the same time. Kellyan made special arrangements for pushing the counter-attack and attacked fiercely. In the first game with the team, Monty Williams noticed Kellyan's eclectic side of using people and remembered Kellyan's adjustments on the spot. There will always be a time to use them in the future. Chapter 75 halfway end. Mike Dunleavy was somewhat at a loss in the face of Kellyan's weird trick. He always believed in the famous saying of Japan's famous center forward Takanori Akaji, control the basket and you can control the whole court. Little did he know that basketball is no longer the same as it was in the 1990s. As the saying goes, there is no constant situation for soldiers, and no constant shape for water. There is never only one solution for basketball. The Lakers led 34-23 and ended the first quarter. In the second quarter, the Lakers focused on the defensive end. When Brand played in the low post, they double-teamed Brand and left Livingston empty during the rotation. His 3-point shooting ability was almost zero, and even the threat of mid-range shooting was not very big. Although the huge space allowed him to attack the basket, the crowded environment under the basket was really not conducive to his breakthrough. From this perspective, the Clippers' team-building ideas are somewhat confusing. Brand and Kaman are standing in the restricted area, and it is difficult for Livingston to create threats through breakthroughs. Livingston's weak shooting ability makes Brand and Kaman more vulnerable to double teaming. Obviously, they are all capable players, but due to the unreasonable in-oop structure and conflicting playing styles, they were unable to exert their due fighting power. After completing the defense in time, the Lakers pushed for a quick counter-attack, making the two Clippers inside players exhausted. The score difference widened further in the second quarter, leading by 17 points at halftime with 58-41. In the second half of the game, Mike Dunleavy replaced Livingston with Jerick to strengthen the team's outside shooting ability, and at the same time resolutely launched an attack from the low post. Brand and Kaman took turns to dig into the inside. Dunleavy hoped that the two of them would explode the Lakers' inside combination in the low post, forcing the Lakers to launch a double team and then play inside out, creating shooting opportunities for Kittles and Bobby Simmons. However, Dunleavy was somewhat disappointed with the defensive ability of the Odom plus Diop combination in the interior. Although the former is a point guard among power forwards, his physique is absolutely first class. Compared with Jameson, Antoine Walker and the like, Odom shooting is not so accurate, but his top defense ability is much stronger, especially when defending short inside players such as Boozer and Brand. He can cover the opponent with his more slender body. As the number one meat shield of the Lakers, to carry big killers such as O'Neal and Duncan, Diop is also first class in top defense in the restricted area. The Lakers insisted on the strategy of single defense in the interior. Although they could not completely restrict the Clippers' offense, Brand did not play very efficiently and naturally could not drive the Clippers' outside shooters. At the end of the third quarter, the Lakers led by 13.78-65. Although the lead was eroded, the team had saved enough capital in the first half, and the situation was still favorable to the Lakers. At the beginning of the fourth quarter, Kellyanne sent out a strange formation of House, Atkins, Butler, Barnes and Odom to match the Clippers' substitutes, catching Dunleavy off guard. House and Barnes hit 3-pointers respectively, and Butler and Odom also hit singles one after another. The Lakers pulled the score difference to more than 20 points again, and the game completely turned into garbage time. The final score was fixed at 107-93. The Lakers defeated their city rivals, the Clippers, at home, and won 2 consecutive victories, while also fixing the team's halftime record at 27 wins and 14 losses. This result is roughly in line with the expectations of the Lakers management, but it was won by Kellyanne's great efforts. To some extent, starting from this Lakers team, starting his coaching career is a bit of a loss. On the surface, it seems that it is natural to enter the playoffs and even achieve better results, otherwise it is incompetent. After the game, Kellyanne was stopped by ESPN reporters in the stadium for an interview. "Congratulations, Kobe, for winning your first Los Angeles derby. Without Kobe, this game was very difficult for you, but you still led the team to victory. What do you think was the reason for your victory in this game? Kobe's injury is a big loss for us. Fortunately, other players took part of his ball rights and played accordingly. Lama and Desagana defended our restricted area and caused trouble for Brandon Kaman, which was the key to the game. Without Kobe, we have to find a new way to win. Fortunately, we seized the opportunity in this game." Kellyanne pointed out that the key to winning is the defense in the interior, especially in the third quarter. Odom and Diop withstood the fierce attack of Brandon Kaman, which was really the key to the game. Will Kobe's return time be after the All-Star game? Will he participate in the All-Star game? After the reporter asked this question, he suddenly showed a weird smile. Kellyanne was about to answer this question. His scalp felt cold, and several glasses of ice water were poured down the back of his head. OMG. Kellyanne subconsciously thought that it was a prank by some player, but when he turned around, he saw that it was Wang Liffen and Shine Fuzzen, and he was both angry and amused. Haha, the prank was half successful, as Wang Liffen and Shine Fuzzen could only reach the back of Kellyanne's head, but the effect looked even more ridiculous, and the two girls laughed heartily. "Sorry, I have to go back to the locker room to clean up." Kellyanne apologized to the reporter, shook hands with the other party, and then turned around and naturally gave Wang Liffen and Shine Fuzzen a head pat. Reappearing in front of the two girls, Kellyanne changed into a windbreaker and jeans, and walked a cool and handsome route, which was completely different from his style of handsomeness in a suit. "Let's go, ladies, let's go for a midnight snack," Kellyanne said, holding up his arms and motioning the two girls to hold him. But Wang Liffen kicked Kellyanne on the calf. "Heba's an artist, don't joke with her like this." Huh. Kellyanne hugged Wang Liffen, but he was a little confused. "She can pour water on my head, but I can't joke with her. I'm an unpopular singer." He looked at Kellyanne and Wang Liffen in his arms with a strange expression and introduced herself. "I feel familiar. Maybe I have seen your performance, but I haven't been back to China for a long time," Kellyanne explained. "Originally, I would go home for a while every summer, but I happened to change jobs last summer, so I didn't go back." "Then you probably don't listen to music normally, right?" Wang Liffen guessed. "Listen to J. Chow," Kellyanne said with a wry smile. Well, Wang Liffen and Shine Fuzzen all responded with tacit eyes. "Okay, I'll search for Shine Fuzzen when I go back tonight, and then listen to all the songs before going to bed." Kellyanne raised 3 fingers and promised, "You'd better keep your word. We'll come to you for the test tomorrow." Wang Liffen punched his chest with his little fist and said fiercely. While talking, the 3 of them came to the parking lot to get the car. Kellyanne asked the 2 girls for their midnight snack. "You have 2 choices, either chocolate puffs or Belgian heart is too soft. They are all high sugar desserts." Kellyanne frowned. "I don't care, can you guys? I know you've been under a lot of pressure recently, so I want you to absorb more dopamine and feel better. It's different to have a doctor girlfriend. The ways to relieve your boyfriend's stress are very special. If you find a model girlfriend, she only knows how to soothe her boyfriend's injured heart through sex. It seems that the latter is more effective." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.